Smith with a good run. Look at Abram Smith. They were pinned at their own 5 after the Mack Brown punt, and he weaves his way past midfield.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
On the ground. Ebner cuts upfield. Tristan Ebner. High steps into the end zone. Baylor capitalizes on the muff punt, and they strike first.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sanders throws too high, intercepted, and being run back by J.T. Woods inside the 10 and out of bounds. They're marking right near the 10-yard line.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here it is. Touchdown. Tyquan Thornton yet again.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, it's a double smokestack for you on this Friday afternoon. Paul Catalina is out, but we do have Emery, we have Faith, and we have Armstrong in the studio. Jack out today as well on Sikkim 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. We will have an NFL draft analyst at 5 o'clock to look at what he thought were the misses and also best remaining available players for tonight's second and third round. And then also John Machota covers the Cowboys, normally with us on Wednesdays, will join us today at 4 to kind of discuss Tyler Smith, the draft pick, the offensive lineman out of Tulsa. J.J. Joe and Grayson Grundhaper will join us. J.J., former Baylor quarterback, Baylor Radio, and also Grayson as well. And former Baylor longtime assistant coach Bill Brock, women's basketball coach now at McLennan Community College. He will join us today at 4:30. Mavericks advance. Chris Paul had a night from unbelievable last night, and the Suns closing out the Pelicans. But let's start with the NFL draft. The Cowboys get Tyler Smith. It was a wild night. Georgia, 5 first-round picks. The Big 12 altogether had none. There will be a bunch, you would think, tonight based on the names that are left on the board. Craig, your observations from round one.
Well, we're going to have to kind of put it in categories because there's a lot to unpack from last night. Like,
put them in categories.
Do you want to talk about the Big 12 getting shut out? Do you want to talk about Georgia's dominance? Do you want to talk about all the trades?
Just go at it.
I mean,
I'll turn down my laptop first. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, as far as the Big 12 getting shut out, I mean, I don't think that's a complete surprise. I mean, there were a couple of borderline guys like Breece Hall and Jalen Petrie that had a chance to possibly go in the first round, but I think that was really close shut with the run on wide receivers and them sort of dominating that first round. So, Hall and Petrie should both go tonight. And I would think, somewhat early-ish. I don't think they're going to be there at the end of the night, still waiting around is my point. So, there will be some guys, but yeah, it's alarming. And, I pointed out, hey, at least if there was the new schools here, you'd have had 3 first-round picks in the last 2 years. And by no means was I bragging when I said that. It was just an observation that, a bunch of people were saying, oh, that's 2 years in a row the Big 12's been shut out. And, it's just kind of funny that includes Oklahoma and Texas. So, they're not really contributing to the output right now, and that's a big reason why. And not to mention, you also have 10 teams, which people just kind of gloss over. Now, that's not why the Big 12's got 0, is because they have less teams and Oklahoma and Texas aren't producing. I think in general there's a talent gap that's growing larger, and that's as worrisome as the money gap that's growing larger between yourselves and then the other conferences like the SEC and the Big 10 in particular, who were littered. But, I do think with the Big 12, it kind of sucks because anytime you talk about OU and Texas, if you're somebody who's covering or is a fan of the teams that are sticking around, if you say anything negative about them, it's going to be misconstrued as, oh, well, you just hate them because they're leaving, right? Which is not the case. They're still going to be around for maybe the next 3 years. So we're going to keep talking about Oklahoma and Texas, Big 12 member Oklahoma and Texas. And quite frankly, they can't be getting shut out in the first round, both of them in the same year. And not
as many times,
and not 2
just
years in a row.
year. Yeah,
not
exactly.
2 years in a row. And
Yeah.
you can't have Texas going a decade without a first-round pick. So, there's a lot of contributing factors, just having 10 schools, your 2 blue bloods. And I point them out because they're the ones that have the top 10 recruiting classes over and over and over. And if they're not top 10, they're top 15 or 20. And I look around last night in the Big 10, who are their big dogs? They've got Ohio State, they've got Michigan, right? And then you can throw Penn State in there. They have guys in the first round. You look at the Pac-12, who are their big dogs? It's Oregon and USC.
And Washington had a first-round pick. Yeah.
They've got guys in the first round.
Yep.
You look at the SEC. I mean, they've got several, but Georgia and Alabama, multiple guys in the first round. And then the ACC is actually kind of an outlier because they've got a weird mixture where it's not like Florida State and Miami guys dominating, or even Clemson for that matter. It was, Boston College and Pitt. So hats off to the ACC for having some depth. But, yeah, I mean, the Big 12, they don't have their big dogs pulling their weight, and then the other schools aren't producing first-round level talent either. So it is something I've brought up before, and I don't know how you really correct it, quite frankly. Having more schools should help. But even then, like as I pointed out, okay, Sauce Gardner, in theory, you could count, and BYU last year was Zach Wilson,
Yep.
and Houston last year had a first-rounder. And then,
And they'll have probably maybe the first name pick tonight,
Right.
but that's not the first round with Logan Hall going off pretty quickly.
But even then, that's still only 3
Yep.
over 2 years. So, yeah, there's a massive talent gap right now. I think having 12 schools again and even 14 maybe for a year will help, at least in those draft classes. But, we can't bet that BYU is going to keep producing Zach Wilsons or Cincinnati is going to keep producing Sauce Gardners either. So, hopefully they do, and hopefully, Dave Aranda and Joey McGuire and, all these other coaches, Matt Campbell, they are able to start pushing some first rounders out there, but they're not going to totally close that talent gap. But yeah, 2 years in a row with no pick and no Oklahoma and Texas involved either. I think that's not a good thing.
I think you could see 6 or 8 names, maybe more, perhaps from the Big 12 tonight with rounds 2 and 3. And of course, those 64 picks. Baylor could have 1 or 2 names in that mix. Also, Iowa State, as we mentioned, and even Oklahoma among some others. Georgia had 5. That's a record. So like somebody said, Georgia had more first-round picks than the entire Big 12. Oh, by 5. They had more first-round picks than anybody, and it's the most ever in the first round, 5, which is also, you look at who was drafted, what side of the ball they were drafted, and you look at when they were drafted, and that's just amazing. That's the kind of team they had, and they won the national championship with those players. And Alabama had theirs among some others. LSU early on with the defensive back, Stingley. And so...
And the record's of 5 defenders. The 5
yeah.
defensive guys is the record. And I mean, duh, right? And then they didn't have all of them drafted. I mean, one of the biggest snubs from last night was a Georgia guy,
Kobe Dean, right?
Yeah. So it's just funny that they are that loaded. I mean, it's just silly, not funny. But kudos to Kirby Smart and company. And again, that speaks to that talent gap when a single defense can have more picks than most conferences have, whether they were shut out like the Big 12 was or whether they had 1 or 2 like some of the others. I mean, they trumped everybody. So, yeah, just speaks to that talent level. And, again, I don't know how you start to really close that, but,
you start getting better recruits and you start developing the ones you have, which Texas and Oklahoma, they're the ones that get the top 5 or 10 classes, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And that's, again, why we're going to make it very clear that any negative ever that we talk about with Texas and OU is not a Big 12 thing, because they're Big 12 members and they're going to the SEC, and that's not going to make me talk about them any differently, because I'm not wired all weird like that like some people. But yeah, they do need to pull their weight. Now Lincoln Riley's gone. You look back, it's like, wow, the end of the Lincoln Riley era produced 0 first-rounders after that string of quarterbacks, right? And so, that kind of makes you wonder, like, what happened there? And then with Texas, I mean, yeah, I don't know what the excuse is. One time we had a guy barking at us because said they didn't develop players well enough, and pointed out, like, I don't know, it was like DeMarvion Overshown or something. It's like, okay, if you want to give, and I'll yield that, okay, if you want to give credit and say the statement that they never develop anybody any better is false, okay, that's not really what was being said to begin with, but if you want to read it word for word that way, fine. But when they're shut out in the first round 2 years in a row, coming off of classes that are top 10, top 15, top 10, top 5 over the last several years, then they're not developing the way that they should be. They're really not. And, everybody else has to pull their weight too. Iowa State, for all of the great talent they've had. I mean, it's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round talent. Baylor, same thing. So, everybody jumps up and puts that first rounder in there on occasion, like a Corey Coleman or something. But, yeah, there's not nearly enough stardom to NFL translating in terms of that first round in particular. But like you said, when tonight is over with, I'm sure that we will be talking about Breece Hall and Jalen Petrie and any other number of guys. Some of those Oklahoma guys will come off the board for sure as well. So, yeah, it'll be a good night for the Big 12.
No question about it. But tonight and today, to me, the biggest story, yes, nationally, it's the National Football League, because they are a billion-dollar company. This is a graphic, Armstrong, on the young man from the University of Miami. We know about Nigel Pack, the kid from Kansas State, who is getting $400,000 once, next 2 years, $400,000 each year from an NIL, a billionaire who is a donor, a booster, a fan of the University of Miami. So Miami was pretty good last year. So now this story here from Jonathan Giovanni, Isaiah is this is a quote. So Isaiah Wong was one of the star players for Miami. Then all of a sudden, if you look at the bottom of Giovanni's first original tweet, is that if he doesn't get better or an increased NIL compensation, according to his agent, then he's thinking about maybe looking to enter the transfer portal, which the deadline, of course, is Sunday. So that was the original tweet on the bottom. Look at this quote. Billionaire John Ruiz told ESPN he has been treated by LifeWallet exceptionally well. If that is what he decides, I wish him well. However, I do not renegotiate. Surprises me, because there are so many players that would love to play for the University of Miami. This right here, to me, if somebody in leadership, which we know there is nobody in leadership at the NCAA, and now they don't even have a leadership, the person, well, at least for the next year. If this doesn't scare the hell out of people, and not that it's going to change, but if this doesn't, if a lot of people weren't texting and calling each other last night on the phone when that quote came out, then this is never going to get under control. And it may never anyway. That right there, I talked to a college basketball coach, and it wasn't anybody from Baylor. I did reach out to a coach at Baylor, but they were like, this rocked our world. Everyone knows people are getting paid, but now a player, what happens mid-season? Somebody goes, I haven't done an NIL commercial in a while. I don't know if I want to play in that conference tournament in early March or next week or tomorrow. And it's a little bit dramatic, but that quote to me, that's all I thought about last night as I was monitoring the draft, how stunning that admission and also emphatic from John Ruiz said, hey, sorry, we don't renegotiate.
Well, I had a totally different reaction. My reaction was, yeah, that sounds about right. And, of course, it's Miami, and, of course, it's that whatever, because, man, he has plastered himself all over Twitter, and I've seen more of him in the last week. And I didn't even know he existed, but now I kind of know who he is. And I am not surprised at all that it has to do with them and Miami. And, in relation to the Nigel Pack move here recently, when they were openly flaunting the money that he was going to be receiving, and, you openly flaunt hundreds of thousands of dollars, are you really surprised when somebody else on the team who's not making as much is suddenly going to want more? I'm not. Are you surprised that some kind of, Miami dude that wants to be involved and wants to have his face out there and wants to basically be the next Nevin Shapiro is right in the middle of this? I'm not. Is anybody surprised that, forget the school affiliation, that there's just some dude out there who's openly doing exactly what the rules state you're not supposed to do, even though the rules are very loose right now? I'm not. This is what everybody asked for. This is what everybody wanted.
I'm not surprised by what we have known. I'm surprised the guy was able to come out like that publicly. Like, you wouldn't even see an NBA agent say that about somebody.
Well, that's stupidity is what that was. Because now you're just openly throwing it out there that you are doing exactly what this is not supposed to be. Now, is there any laws or anything that's going to come back to haunt them?
Nope.
No, of course not, because it's the NCAA and it's college sports, and basically you break rules and you just go, oops, my bad, and you move on, or you threaten a lawsuit and then you just move on anyway. So it's all BS to begin with, and I'm sure nothing will probably even come from this. But yeah, this is just the ugly side of it that we knew was happening, and then there will be those who go, who cares, just let them have money, and that's fine too. But I don't think those people are really fans of the feeling of college sports. And again, it's one of those arguments you have to get into like the weeds and get into the nitty gritty of it. I'm not a fan of college sports because players weren't getting paid. I'm a fan of college sports because of the camaraderie, the community, and what it means to towns. And I think that's being lost over just fistfuls of dollars. So the worst part of America, we are just saying, let's zoom on in that direction and let's just make everything as about money as possible and not about, actual human beings and life. And so if everybody wants to applaud that chaos and enjoy that, that's fine. I'll still be here covering it, but I think it really effing sucks.
Yeah, well, in fact, Daniel, that's effing ridiculous. From Darius, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Darius, for being a part of the show. Let's see if there's a couple of other. Phil Venzer, that the government has to get involved. And then, man, you think there's a lot more important things they should be trying to solve and get solutions and all that for. The bird whisperer, such a bullshit take. Why? Why is it? I'll show your message on the chat room. Why? Why is that a bullshit take?
Well, let him answer, and we can figure it out.
I'm going to wait for you.
Yeah.
And then money runs the world. We need a competent president to act up and fix the issues of the NCAA.
That's what I'm just saying is money runs the world. And so is it any surprise that this is becoming all about the money? And you can say, well, it was all about the money to begin with, and I agree with that. But I'm not going to – you can point out anything you want to, but I do think college sports, a lot of it is camaraderie. We live in a college sports town, around a college sports town. And that, to me, has always been kind of the most fun part. But I'm, if your thing's going to be about the money side of it and athletes don't deserve money, definitely nobody's saying that. But I think when you get into a situation where now these guys are basically, renegotiating deals on the fly and, just openly flaunting the NIL when that's not supposed to be what it's about. Yeah, I do think that's BS. I think that it sucks that there had to be somebody so quickly take it to a level where it gets to this point to where you now have a guy who's making $800,000 who suddenly has a transfer. I just think it's all messy and, good for the players to get their money. But if we're going to start having like holdouts and stuff because of a transfer came in and got new money or things like that, guys threatening to leave school, I'm not saying it's not right or wrong. I'm just saying it sucks. And if you think differently, fine. But I think that kind of sucks. And I don't really think my opinion is going to change on that. But, good for the players getting their money.
Bird Whisperer's response, kids can have a YouTube channel and profit, and you're worried about kids getting paid. He also had another response to that. We're not worried about it. If you have a regular job in college and you're a normal college student, you can make money. But if you're an athlete and generate money for schools, you're left to be poor. We never said they didn't deserve the money. Man. We never said that. And so your take was lazy. And that's what the first thing we always hear when we bring up NIL. I'm not against the NIL. I think it's great. And the NCAA and schools are paying for it now because they were so stupid and so stubborn for so many years. I'm not against players being paid. This company has had NILs. The point is that it was not supposed to be an inducement. We know that people were cheating prior to that, but when somebody that pays somebody $400,000 for 2 years and then comes out and says to a student athlete, regardless of what you want to think about who should get money or not, that I'm not going to renegotiate? You don't even see, there's agents in professional sports that rarely get that into the headlines. And when they do, they're playing mind games with who they're trying to get more money from, Deebo Samuel. That's my point.
You didn't even need to go that far because the person clearly already missed the mark, and that's why I said the caveat about it's not about the players making money, it's about the situation itself. So, of course, that person's response was about us acting like the players shouldn't be making money. So you're already wrong. I figure you're going to be wrong. I figured that would be your wrong answer, and you confirmed that, so thank you. So just for the next person, this is not about the players making money. It sucks if you're a Miami fan that this is suddenly a situation where you had a pretty good team last year. You had a pretty good team coming back. Your NIL seems to be all up in a row. Hey, man, now you get Nigel Pack, but now you got a player threatening to leave because his money isn't good enough. And I just think that sucks. I think that sucks if you're a Miami fan. If you're Nigel Pack or you're this other kid, get your money. It's not about that. You morons keep going to that same point, and it's not about the guys getting money. It's about the adults involved, breaking rules left and right to feel like the big men on campus, and this sleazeball from Miami who's trying to – I don't even want to call him a sleazeball because that's not fair. He's just working his deals and doing all that, and, he's standing his ground. So I take that back. But there is some sleaziness going on, and it's not the players receiving money. It's all the people involved in how the players are receiving money.
Yeah,
and it's turning into exactly what it wasn't supposed to be when they started this. Florida state law doesn't permit schools to be involved in NIL deals, according to a Miami spokesperson, due to state law. It doesn't discuss or comment on NIL-specific deals. Pappas confirmed to ESPN he isn't speaking directly with the Hurricanes coaching staff. Do you think that for a second? Do you really believe the guy's just adding players to Miami's roster without speaking to the coaching staff? Like, hey, here's a couple extra. Well, coach, we don't have any more room left. How could he not be speaking to the coaching staff? But regardless of that, that's the point. That's what sucks about it is just that there's a story like this that now Miami fans have to have headaches over. But again, good for the players. Good for the players. Good. Get your money. But I don't know. I just don't have a lot of free agency is cool. But one thing I like about free agency is there's some structure to it. But this, every year free agency where I'm just happy I'm going to leave or I'm not getting as much money, I'm going to leave, and there's nothing binding you. I just think while that's tremendous for the players, I just think for the schools and the teams and the coaches and all that, that's a major pain. And a lot of people go, so what? They've made millions all this time. And you're right. I'm just saying it's not right or wrong. I just think it's not great. It's not great for college athletics. If you disagree with that, fine, but don't come here with some BS like it's about players receiving money.
We never even were talking about the players. We were using them as an example of the story. We were talking about the guy with the NIL, not who he's actually paying or renegotiating with. So be careful and don't be lazy. All right, when we come back, I got one other story about college athletics. This is from Ross Dellinger, who was on the show with us earlier this week. The 2020-2021 transfer portal cycle, 2,654 entered the portal. 8 months into the 21-22 cycle, 2,669. And it's not yet over because you have another day until May the 1st. Now, some of those players, that's about 20 players a team. And yes, some of them are walk-on players. And so that's another stat that is racing like a really good stock that hits, and you hope to get it as high as you can and you sell it whenever you can. So there we are with that. When we come back, we'll ask J.J. Joe about it as well, former Baylor quarterback, also a part of Baylor Radio, and also his take, as we've had from a half a dozen or so analysts, Baylor and their quarterback decision earlier this week, and then also Grayson Grunhafer on recruiting with Baylor and more, and his thoughts about the NFL draft in the first day 2 now coming up. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, the new 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 has 2.9% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 or take 0% for 72 months. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves. Today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop their huge new car and truck inventory.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead.
In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, and we'll take you up until 6 o'clock, joined by former Baylor quarterback and Baylor radio broadcast analyst J.J. Joe, who was on with us quite a bit during the football season and also wanted to get his take, like we've had with others this week, on the quarterback decision and also what we were just talking about as well with the NIL and more. J.J., thanks for your time. Hope you've been doing well. So when you saw the decision, when we reported the decision on Sikkim 365, what was your reaction?
I thought it, first of all, Smoak, I thought it was the right decision. Let me say that. I thought it was the right one, but I was surprised. I will be honest. I was surprised, but once the day went to Tuesday, I figured that probably was a positive for Blake because Gary, I thought, would be a pretty quick decision for Coach.
So, JJ, why do you think Blake ultimately should be and is the guy?
I just think it allows for the offense to be a little bit more dynamic. I mean, just it's varied and dynamic. They're going to be able to run the ball. I mean, that's what Coach Grimes does. Coach Mateos coaches the line real well. I think he brought in Coach Baker to coach those receivers up a little bit, and especially when you have young ones. But Blake just has the knack of processing the defense, reading the defense, and then he can activate all areas of the field in the passing game. wide right, wide left, deep, middle, underneath, and he's pretty accurate. So I just thought the offense was different when he was in the game. And if you remember from last year, it was just different when he came in.
I've heard a lot of takes, analysts that do know what they're talking about, probably a lot more than I do, but about how Gary also was positive when it comes to the running game because he's bigger, more physical and all that with what he did a year ago, and I get that. But doesn't a better and more effective or explosive passing game help the running game too?
Hey, you're right. You hit the nail on the head. You're exactly right. And I think that the game plans will change some. They will try to protect Blake a little bit. Now, Blake is not a bad athlete. He's a baseball player, but he's not the same type of athlete as Gary Bohannon. He's 6 foot, maybe 6 foot, 6'1", 190. Gary's 6'3", 220. You're just not going to put him in harm's way as much. But he's about Charlie's size, and I think Charlie's issue more so was, he had the head issues. But if you can pass the ball and activate certain areas of the field in the passing game, that then changes the math for the defensive coordinator. And I think a great example was the difference between how Oklahoma State defended us in the first game at home when they played at home and how they had to defend us the second time they saw us. Totally different.
JJ, I really wish we could have seen a healthy Blake Shapen in the second half of that Big 12 title game and then seen what would have happened in the Sugar Bowl. I'm just curious how that quarterback competition would have been viewed coming out of New Orleans had Blake played in that game. But then again, we don't know what the result would have been. So that will all remain a mystery, and he's won the job now. But looking at the green and gold game last Saturday, just what were some of your major impressions that you took away? Obviously, there was a lot to look for, but what were maybe a couple things that popped most for you?
I would say really, offensively, I was really looking at the wideouts. Of course, I was watching quarterbacks. I figured that was going to be the game that, kind of capped it off for Coach. But I was looking at the receivers. I knew we had Hal Presley out. But I didn't know much about Jordan Cameron. Josh Cameron and Jordan Cameron, I always get that mixed up because I got two sons, and one's named Jordan, one's named Josh. But he played well. As a nice body. I didn't know much about him. We know about Monterey Baldwin. We knew about a couple of the other ones. But I was really watching the receivers, and then I wanted to defensively. I wanted to see how the young corners, behind Walcott and behind Milton, how those guys look because they will have to play. And then the last thing for me, because I feel good about our lines, is really looking at our safeties because I know we're trying to move Christian Morgan around. So I'm concerned whenever we potentially may have two brand new deep safeties. Football is played inside out. And you got to have, if you're solid inside with the quarterback, center, Mike, and safeties, you usually are going to have a pretty good team.
JJ, it is the last 2 days of April. Football's over as far as practice, spring drills, whatever. There is the offseason and much more. What about Blake Shapen and the time he has? And they know him, the receivers, offensive linemen, defensive players. They know who he's been for the last year or so. What about him getting control of that team as far as the leader? You don't raise your hand. Being named the starting quarterback doesn't mean you're the leader, but how much time do you feel like he has plenty of time between now and August to be able to kind of grab that? Because Gary was known as obviously very special when it comes to that.
Yeah, I would say Gary. I mean, and I haven't gotten to really spend a lot of time with Gary. But he seems to be a very positive, great young man, hard worker, immense talent. I don't want this to minimize the talent that Gary has. I said this, I think, earlier this week. Gary has an NFL arm. We'll talk about who has the better arm strength. But I think Blake, he's been in the system, Smoak. That's what I like about him. He's been there. He competed with Gary last year, didn't come out on top. He played this year in significant, high-leverage moments. That's what helps you secure your spot. Is this my team or not? Now, you have to do the daily stuff. You got to show up. You got to throw extra. You got to watch more film. You got to be there. You got to be consistent. You can't be a knucklehead if you're a quarterback. You got to be someone who's, everybody may be hanging out, but you're probably hanging out for a little bit and getting out of there. But so he has to do the things he's been doing, and I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's got plenty of time. They all know him. Mm-hmm. And I watch how guys interact, Craig, with with each other, and it looks like they interact pretty well with Blake and really like it when he's successful, and they love Gary when he's successful. So I think he's going to be fine.
Did you see anything that you liked from Kyron Drones or C.J. Rogers?
Hey, I think, everybody saw C.J. Rogers. I mean, I had heard about C.J. last year. They talked about they really like this kid from Argyle. And I was like, well, who is that, right? And you don't see much of him. But, I mean, shoot, he launched one where I just was sure there was no way he's gonna be able to get that ball to Bonner. And he threw that thing about a good 57 to 60 in the air. Kyron Drones is still developing. I think you can see Kyron's athleticism. You can see his ability to move around. But he's still developing the pass game. They want to put him on the move. They want to get it, down to single reads, which is fine. I mean, he's a young player as well. So I think those guys are both promising young quarterbacks. But you could tell. I mean, there's a gap. There was a gap between those guys and Gary and Blake. And I think even in the spring game, I thought Blake was a step ahead of Gary. And I think that ultimately is what helped Coach make his decision.
Was the decision obviously that he made early, quickly? When he said that Saturday, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to probably drag into the late week. And then I know the May 1st deadline, the transfer, whatever else. What did it say to you about Dave Aranda that he didn't let this linger, and he made the decision knowing that most likely whoever was going to be one, the other guy was going to enter the transfer portal, in this case, Gary Bohannon?
Well, I mean, a little behind the scenes. I mean, I'd heard that he's going to name one. I mean, I was talking to a crew, and I heard when I came in, I was like, well, why? And I was thinking in my head, like, why is he going to do that? That doesn't make sense. I'd hold as many as I could personally. I'm a little selfish, but, Coach Aranda just stand up. I mean, he is seriously more about the person than the player. He says the person is greater than the player. And this is, to me, was him showing that. Most coaches would make this battle, especially since it's so close, go into the fall, and they'll at least have both of them on the roster. Potentially. Someone still may step out. So he didn't do that. He's a stand-up guy. It's going to help him I think long-term it's going to help him. And, it's interesting because, I think we all believed Gary was ahead. And the whole time during the spring, I would put stuff in notes like the competition is thick. And not that I've seen it. I just saw Blake play last year. And if you told me last year, if I watched both of them, you asked me after the season who will start next year, I would have said Blake.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, that would have been so interesting had he been healthy, that had that whole month of December to compete. But yeah, I think you're right, JJ, and I would agree. I would have said the same thing. I was curious, have you had much of a chance to talk to Dallas Baker at all since he arrived?
I have not. Okay. Unfortunately, I haven't. I mean, I only got down for the spring games. I hadn't had much chance to visit with him at all.
Sure. I was just wondering because, man, it seems like Aranda's really had some nice remarks about him, and talking about these young receivers and how they looked last Saturday. If it was up to you, do you feel like there's still a need to try and see if there's maybe a veteran out there, or do you think you can ride into 2022 with a bunch of inexperienced and young but talented guys and still feel confident about what you're doing?
I think you can. Here's my only concern. My only concern is, Blake's strength is the passing game. And it's, it would really help if he had someone who's cut their teeth a little bit. I mean, like Estrada. Estrada didn't play D1 necessarily, high-level D1. He came from the Ivy League, but really good receiver, high-talented, very smart receiver. It would help to have at least one, addition to kind of help give Blake a little experience out there. But I'll tell you, they can develop together. All of these guys are young. Blake has 3 years, and sometimes growing together is pretty good as well.
What was your overall impressions? Because spring games can sometimes bore the hell out of, not so much me, but there are times and it looks like grass is growing. I know it's important for everybody that's getting a snap, but it did seem to have some, the fact that there were big plays on offense. I don't think that's because the defense was bad. I think that there's some young, electric type talent on this team offensively.
Yeah, I mean, Coach has done a great job of building on what Coach Rule started with some of the talent that's here. He's going into now his third season. But I liked it. He ran it like a game. I mean, he had kicking game. And you could tell. I mean, this is what to me, to have real competition in the spring, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like having, hey, we have some battles. And not only having a battle, but having it where we have 2 good ones or 3 good ones. And that's when you're building a program, because you're looking out there and you're like, well, man, he has options at these positions and the competition is thick. And that makes spring, to me, much better because up front, hey, man, if I don't do this, there's one of my teammates here that can do it at a high level as well. So I liked what he's doing. I like the roster he's building. And I think the decisions and how he goes about things is going to only help him get really good players or continue to get really good players.
JJ, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you about a story outside of Baylor. We were just talking about this Miami story from last night with Isaiah Wong and basically threatening to leave Miami if he doesn't get increased NIL past the deal that he originally agreed to. And I don't know how involved this is because of Nigel Pack and the money they apparently gave him. But as a former college athlete who certainly would have benefited from NIL, I think most everybody's on board with players getting paid. But what do you think about that situation in particular? Not a surprise that this is probably happening, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I am a proponent of, helping the player, especially since this is big business. But look, I mean, I hate to see that because I think this is the wild, wild west, I think. I heard somebody say. But look, I look at it like the issue here is that the adults failed us. The NCAA, the conference, and this is my opinion, the conference director, they failed us because they didn't get ahead of it. And then all of a sudden we let a court make a decision to where then now everything is allowed. So now how do you put the genie back in the bottle? Well, it's going to require the NCAA, in my opinion, as well as these conference directors and school presidents to come up with a framework, something that makes sense. I'm a proponent of players being taken care of. But now what has to happen, because you can't put the genie back in the bottle, is that they're going to have to actually kind of come up and give the players some representation and negotiate something so we get past all this, hey, give me extra $1 million and I'll stay. I mean, that's not really what we want from college athletics. We want to help them, but now we're getting into pro ball. And, and that's, it's big business, but there is a little difference, in my opinion, between, the next level in college athletics. And we can figure that middle ground if the adults stand up and be adults.
Thank you, JJ, as always, man. Great for your time. Appreciate your time. Thanks to hear from you.
Thank you, guys. You have a good one.
Thanks for your time. Great to hear from you. Golly, I just went backwards on that one. Thanks. That's JJ Joe, former Baylor quarterback, Baylor radio color analyst for football. When we come back, Grayson Grundhafer will join us, Sikkim365.com.
I know we'll talk about this with Grayson, but there was the news earlier today with Josh Landry, former Baylor, I believe is maybe a highest 3-star. I don't know if he quite ever got to a 4-star. He might have. I can't remember. But defensive lineman announced, or I guess he didn't announce, but it was reported that he is in the transfer portal now. So, they're pretty loaded on the D-line. They're 3 deep there, across the board, especially with the addition of Jackson Player. So I don't know that this really affects a whole lot next year, but maybe some of your, development beyond that. I'm not too worried about it with Ron Roberts and with, Coach Johnson and Aranda, obviously, but that is of note. And so there's another scholarship that opens up, and now we see where Josh Landry will go. He had some other schools that were interested in him coming out of high school, but I did see somebody who I can only assume is like the parent or aunt or uncle or father or whatever of some player on the team because they speak like real cryptic, You kind of know those accounts that kind of know something, and you know that they know something, but you're not quite sure. And so I saw this random account responding to a Josh Landry report saying, like, this is just the beginning or just getting started or whatever. And then I was like, okay, that's curious. And so I went and looked at their timeline. They also had a comment about, this is what happens when guys who have earned their starting roles get passed over by younger players. And that just made me flip my opinion on their opinion, like automatically, like just because you were a starter and you're older does not mean that you hold on to that position for forever. And Josh Landry wasn't a starter to begin with, so I don't know where that was coming from.
Who's in front of him on the depth chart?
Like 7 guys?
Yeah.
The two deep.
I really liked him when he signed and thought at some point, maybe not right away, at some point, 3rd year, 4th year, whatever, that he would be somebody that was a contributor, and maybe he would have been. Yeah, maybe. But
to that point is like, well, that's just what happens. That's called competition. If he was older and getting passed over, too bad. And if that's going to cause other guys to leave, too bad. That's the breaks. You get passed over. there's no, just automatic spot because you're a junior and somebody else is a redshirt freshman. So if the guys are going to leave because of that, well, I mean, playing time is a big reason why people leave for the portal, and so be it. I feel confident with what they have and the people that will be around. But, I mean, we definitely expected some attrition post-spring.
Yeah, and we'll ask Grayson about it. There will be more. There will be more, not just Gary Bohannon. There'll be Josh Landry. There'll be maybe 5, 6, or 7 other names because Baylor, by the way, is over the limit right now, basically. There's going to be some attrition anyway when it comes to the scholarship count?
No, I think they're under the limit right now.
Even with the new class and everything?
Yeah, because they lost, there's 7, 8 guys going to the pros. There's 2 more guys in the portal this week, and they already had, I believe, we can ask Grayson, but
we'll ask him
they had open scholarships before this week, to my knowledge, so they should have a couple extra now by this point.
All right, we'll ask him about it. One of the guys that I do know understands some of the talent fit based on the scheme. Josh Landry was a dude that Phil Snow wanted at under tackle in that original 4-3. They tried to run that in 17 and 18. He has not been really a schematic fit since they went to the 3-man front back in 2019. And so the fact that he hadn't left earlier is kind of a surprise for what's best for him as well.
And you nailed that. Yeah, a lot of that was just a change, and he was a rule guy, and that's part of the deal as well. So, yeah, best of luck to Josh Landry and anybody else who joins him and Gary Bohannon over the next few days. That's just part of the deal, and good luck to him.
When we come back, Grayson Grunhafer, he'll join us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Right now, it's too late for this week, but next week, anytime up until 6 o'clock Wednesday, you can order what you want with 30-pound sacks of live crawfish. At one point, it was down to $3.15 a pound. And back when live crawfish started to become available, it was like in the $4.50 range. So it kind of gives and takes each particular week. But order live crawfish, sacks of live crawfish, 30-pound sacks, by Wednesday at 6. Pick them up anytime after 4 on Fridays for, let's say this week you did. In 15 minutes, the live crawfish, the bags are available for you to pick up, or sometime tomorrow. They open up early in the morning. Also, top sirloin steak, $5.99 a pound. Pork steaks, $1.99 a pound. Country style pork ribs, $1.99 a pound. Boudin is $2.99 a pound. And pork medallions are $4.75 a pound. Chicken thighs, $1.99 a pound today and tomorrow. Those are the specials for this week through April 30th tomorrow at Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits, compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Back here on Sikkim 365 Radio, and before we get to Grayson Grundhafer, an update on the Isaiah Wong and Miami Life Wallet story. This from Jonathan Giovanni at Draft Express on Twitter from about 10 minutes ago. Update: Isaiah Wong has elected not to enter the NCAA transfer portal. He told ESPN Wong will keep his name in the NBA draft while maintaining his college eligibility. Now, of course, that's not really the big part of the story. The story is about the NIL and Life Wallet and all that. Well, here's the follow-up. Wong and his representatives have spoken with Life Wallet CEO John Ruiz to discuss their differences surrounding his current Life Wallet agreement. Wong has been assured his Life Wallet agreement complies with NCAA regulations for student athletes in Florida state law, which our brilliant texture was not taken into account when we were talking about the fact that there are laws and stuff, but both sides are happy to continue their partnerships moving forward. So the drama's been taken care of at Miami with Isaiah Wong and Life Wallet. So
Could have been with,
crisis averted.
With Wong's agent, which still for me to say it that way, and this NIL billionaire, call each other. Don't put this up on social media. This isn't the Kardashians.
Well, that's the world we're living in, so maybe that's what...
but it worked, maybe. Maybe it worked for Wong, and it worked for Ruiz, and it worked for Miami. And
it'll work for schools like Miami with certain players, but there's going to be other schools that are just like, you know what, not worth it. We're not going to deal with it. And maybe that hurts them in the long run, but I think in some ways it will also benefit them to not just give in. But who knows how they worked it out.
Grayson Grundhafer joins us, Sikkim365.com recruiting analyst. Grayson, we brought up Josh Landry, and he won't be the last, along with, we know, Gary. Where is Baylor's overall scholarship count with those who have left for the NFL or leave for pro football, those who just ran out of eligibility, and also now with the transfer portal of at least we know 2 and probably more coming?
Yeah, I think they still have a little ways to go. I think they actually just got to 85, I want to say. I think that's the number that they're currently at. I expect there to be some more announcements, whether it be transfers or potential medical, type situations where there's retirements. There's going to be more attrition, and that's going to lead to some more open spots on the roster. Obviously, you got to take into account the 2022 enrollees as well, as they're going to enroll here in a little bit at the beginning of June. So they'll add to the roster as well. So right now, I think, I believe with the attrition, I think they're at 85. I think that's their current roster count situation. But obviously that fluctuates as more guys make decisions. And so, yeah, it's something to definitely keep an eye on. And obviously, there's still some hope that maybe Gary elects to return. But as of right now, I kind of think that that's probably not going to happen. I think Gary's probably going to go somewhere else and go be the starting quarterback elsewhere. But, there's still some hope there. And then obviously you also have to take into account the walk-ons as well. There have been some walk-ons that have performed really well in the spring, specifically, someone like Josh Cameron, who has really emerged at the wide receiver position. So I'm very curious how they deal with those scholarships as well as, there are some walk-ons that are maybe starting to become deserving of being on full scholarship.
Why was I under the impression that they had some room? Was it just, I guess, maybe not accounting for Josh White being added and maybe some unforeseen? I thought they had a little bit of room, but I guess not, huh?
I think they might have some room coming, but I think right now it's right. Okay. It's like right around that 85 number. I don't think they have a lot of wiggle room currently.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, two of them opened up this week with Gary and now Josh Landry. Let's start with Gary Grayson. He's in the transfer portal. Blake Shapen's been named the starting quarterback. A lot of people have, cheered on the timing of it and Aranda making that call before summertime, letting Gary get in the portal before the deadline. But just in terms of Blake leading this offense next year, what do you think of the decision and what do you think it looks like?
Yeah, it's one of those really tough decisions, but it's also the right decision. And I think that, as spring started and things like that, we saw Gary, play really well. And that was kind of the reports was that, Gary's playing really well. He's got the leadership and all of those intangibles. And it's kind of interesting. It reminds me so much of last year, and then it also doesn't. But the reasons that it does is just because last year, Jacob Zeno started off so well in spring camp, and then as spring progressed, it just completely started to lean towards Gary's direction. And then obviously in the spring game, Gary performed really well. Well, this was a similar situation in that Gary was the leader throughout, but I think that maybe Shapen was probably really coming on as of late, and then obviously the spring game, he was phenomenal. I mean, I think that if you go watch that performance, it's very hard to say that anyone should be starting over him. I mean, he just played so well, so in control. Seems like his knowledge of the playbook has just completely expanded. And I think if you go look at kind of Jeff Grimes' track record, and the guys that he's coached, and obviously the most, or the easiest comparison is Zach Wilson. And when you watch that BYU offense, you really need some of the things that Blake Shapen does in this offense. The deep shots down the sideline, the ability to make throws on the run more consistently. And then kind of the biggest thing in my mind is just the accuracy. Shapen, in my mind, is just more accurate than Gary. And, when you bring that all together along with the processing that Shapen does going through reads, it's just very hard for them to, I think, come to any other decision other than start Blake Shapen. And also, guys, I think on the recruiting trail, it's paying dividends as well. I went out and saw Austin Novosad yesterday, and he was very happy with the decision as well. And his reasoning was basically the same as I'm kind of saying, was that Jeff Grimes, the offense that he wants to run really needs more of a gunslinger, a guy that's willing to expand the offense vertically as well as horizontally, but really challenge the defense vertically. And I think that this is just a great decision for the future and also a great decision for this team next year, as I do think it raises their ceiling.
So we have now seen in the last couple of years, you had, obviously Charlie was there a long time. His last year there was so bad across the board in many ways, team and his performance and offense and all that. But there was this chant of Zeno, and you were very close to Jacob because of the recruitment process. And then that was the guy, and he doesn't beat out Gary Bohannon. And then Gary Bohannon becomes the guy, and now Shapen beats him out. This is, to me, it's not because of lack of production. It's because people are getting better and winning these jobs.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, you can't stand still, right? And the funniest thing is I think that we, or at least myself, and I think others included, really thought Jacob was going to win the job because of his arm and the ability to expand the field, but he couldn't do it to the level that Shapen is doing it. but it's kind of that similar situation, right? Where it's like Gary's the better runner, the better athlete. We all knew that, but he was able to beat out Jacob with the leadership and the intangibles and, just being in control of the offense. But with Chapin, he couldn't overcome the talent differential. And that's just what it is. When you watch Chapin throw the football, it's just very different. And so, yeah, you're right. It's guys getting better, guys maturing in the program, and, talent wins out. And I think this is great by the staff because it really shows that, they're true to their word. If you come in and you beat someone out, you're going to be the guy. This is not a standstill process. It's about getting better, playing the best guys, and going out and winning football games. And they've proven that they're going to stand by that.
All right, so you mentioned there might be more attrition. I know your ears to the ground. That's normal. The transfer portal is Sunday. I mean, like the day is coming up. Anybody that you think might enter the transfer portal that might be more than just because they're stuck behind too many people?
No, I'm not going to put out too much speculation. I do think that, the main thing is I think that there's probably, or potentially I would say, retirement, transfers. I think it's natural that there might be some transfer attrition, especially with the date coming up so quickly, like you mentioned. But I think it's natural to have some, but I don't think it'll be a lot. And the reason for that is because guys like being at Baylor. That's been a consistent theme, is that guys just like being here and like being a part of the program. And so I think if there is attrition, it's probably going to be more so to the part that you're talking about, lack of playing time.
All right, Grayson, before we let you go real quick, we talked about Gary. Your thoughts on Josh Landry? We just had a texter, that pointed out very observantly that he was a rule guy, different system that he was recruited into. Is that what it kind of boils down to you as well with Josh Landry? Your thoughts on his transfer?
I think it's one of those situations where I like Josh as a player, but I think when Rule took him, it was more so like, he's got proven production, but the ceiling was never extremely high with Josh just because of the size. And so while I know Rule took him, I don't even know if he would have played if Rule, was the head coach, just because, both of these staffs really are trying to get bigger up front, get taller, get guys who are going to be, NFL guys. And I'm not saying Josh can't be, but if you go look at the guys that both of these staffs have recruited, it seems like they're going for bigger, taller type guys, like Gabe Hall, TJ Franklin's of the world. So I don't know that would have made much of a difference, to be honest. And I mean, when Rule was at Baylor, he was trying to get Alfred Collins and Princely Umanmielen, who ended up at, Texas and Florida, respectively. So those guys would have played at Baylor as well, probably over Josh. So I just think it's one of those situations where I don't think it would have mattered who the staff was. And I think it's good for Josh to go out and get some playing time because, frankly, at Baylor, you look at their two deep on the defensive line, they're loaded. I mean, they're one of the best in the entire country. So it can be really hard for anyone to play on this team, on the defensive line with the talent they have.
Grayson, I know you and Craig do the hour plus on the Bearcast, and you guys have talked about the spring game quite a bit and all that, and we appreciate your time. Do you feel like we mentioned those who might want to transfer into the portal and who has? Do you feel like there's any specific, is it wide receiver, a specific position where they will bring somebody in?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, the opposite side. I've brought this up quite a bit with y'all, and I still stand by this. I really think they need to look at bringing in a wide receiver. And I don't think they'll take a risk on, a former 5-star or you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to take a risk on a young guy who, maybe could turn into something. I think if they're going to bring someone in, it's going to be a veteran. And I think that's what they're trying to find. But so far, that just hasn't happened. And so I think that's the position to look at. I would also say, after watching the spring game, cornerback and safety are still areas that I feel like they could address. I think that there's some young guys and some inexperienced guys back there that maybe you'd want to bring in more of a veteran with some speed, but that might be tougher to find. But I think at wide receiver, I really do think that they're going to bring in a veteran if someone like a Drew Estrada were to enter the portal again, that would be such a perfect fit for what their offense is trying to do. And just getting a veteran leader in that room would really pay dividends, because right now they're just so young, unexperienced, and unproven. So I really do think that's a route that they could go, even though, to be honest, they didn't look bad in the spring game. If you watch the spring game, you're like, hey, they had a couple deep balls, a couple nice touchdowns. But I think in those Big 12 games, you're going to want some older guys who are going to make those tough plays, those game-winning type catches that maybe we haven't gotten to see out of these guys. Those really tough catches. You need older guys to make those, because young guys, it's really hard at certain points in their career to make those really tough catches consistent.
Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate your time. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com recruiting analyst as well, co-host of the Bearcast. And also, one of the things about those 50-50 balls with the tough catches, it took even Tyquan Thornton, R.J. Sneed, and a lot of them a while to get to kind of know what to do there. It's part of that experience and confidence and physically bigger and stronger. When we come back, John Machota, the Cowboys have an offensive lineman from Tulsa. It was not the most popular pick, but Jerry said it was the obvious pick, and we'll come back with John about last night and tonight with rounds 2 and 3, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. I have told you for now several days as we close out the month of April tomorrow about various discounts and also even the APR financing where you can get 2.9% on various models and trucks or vans or much more as well. What they have is a bunch of cars and vehicles on the lot. Not everybody does, and they're fortunate because they have great connections and a network within their own company of Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. They have cars and vehicles that have been awarded by J.D. Power. They also have the Ram truck back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. And they have cars, trucks, and SUVs available for you to test drive, and maybe you'll like one. They also have a very nice chunk of pre-owned vehicles as well, which is hard to find. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Ted Teague, and that great staff. Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
That one picked off, and it's a pick six by Jalen Petrie.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, day 2 of the NFL draft. Second round and third rounds tonight. Last night, the Cowboys had the 24th pick of the draft. They ended up with Tulsa offensive lineman and tackle Tyler Smith. I did see where Baylor defensive tackle Jackson Player said, that's my guy. It's my dog.
Yeah. Did you also see, this is beside the point because I know we're going to talk football here, but Terrence Shannon made his decision.
Terrence Shannon's headed to Illinois.
Yeah, Terrence Shannon from Texas Tech, and there is a whole big controversy going on Twitter between Michigan fans and Illinois fans and Tech fans, and a whole big argument going on about how exactly this occurred. But bottom line is Terrence Shannon's headed to Illinois, and I just wanted to mention that because that was in the last half hour. So.
And because we have Texas Tech fans who watch, L.J. Martin, heck of an all-purpose back, committed to Texas Tech earlier today. Somebody asked if we brought that up. And Hinton from Oklahoma, who was at Oklahoma, at Oregon, he's one of the transfers to play for Mark Adams, and they're not done there yet either. Joined by John Machota, had a long night. Of course, football, NFL draft, and much more. John, when they were on the clock at 24, Paul Catalina, we're texting, Craig's on a text, we're kind of, what did you really think they were going to do when their time came up?
So because of how they drafted the last 2 years, I thought they were going to take the best defensive player on the board because I thought that's where the strength was. And in the last drafts, that's what they've done in the first round. They've taken the best player available. And I thought that was either Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher from Florida State, George Karlaftis, the edge rusher from Purdue, or Devin Lloyd, the linebacker from Utah. And they didn't do that. And so it just showed you that Tyler Smith was their guy the entire way. Jerry said he has them 16th on their board. So if they believe that, this is the one thing that certainly, I mean, they've drafted well in the first round, particularly with offensive linemen. So they deserve the benefit of the doubt there. It's not going to be the type of pick that's going to get anyone excited, thinking that they had a strong draft, one. And then two is you have to also factor in, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're already frustrated with the way the offseason's gone. You get an offensive lineman that's more of a project, and he could be a really good offensive lineman, but it might not be for another 4 or 5 years. And then the fact that all of the other 3 teams in the division are making all these big moves and clearly getting better, and you don't really appear to be doing that in the division. So you factor all that stuff in together, and it just leads to just a kind of a really just boring pick.
You know, Tyler Smith could have been 53rd on their board. And I know he put up the piece of paper, which also revealed their entire board. And so I'm not sure how many people were able to blow that up. But at the same time, and I know he has upside, but they are trying to win now. Do you really believe he was ranked that high on their board? Is that, because Jerry would have made that clear even if he wasn't.
Yeah, I think he was because of what they think his upside is. When I say that, I mean as a left tackle. I think that they feel pretty good about him being a left guard playing next to Tyron Smith, and Tyron Smith kind of helping him along. I think that the way that some of the stuff that, like when you see highlights and lowlights of his time at Tulsa, I think playing in at guard, it'll be a smoother transition for him, where I don't think that he'll get out of position as much. And again, having Tyron Smith next to him will be a huge benefit. But then here's the thing is, what if Tyron Smith gets hurt third game of the year? Let's say the neck or back, something starts acting up. Like, are you in the position right now where do you feel comfortable moving Tyler Smith at left tackle, protecting Dak Prescott's blind side? That will be all determined throughout training camp and where he is, preseason, things like that. But as we're right now, going off of the things that I've heard from Dane Brugler, who obviously anyone outside of an NFL team, it just seems like this projects as more of a project. And because of that being the case, I don't know that you can count on him as a left tackle right away. And so because of that, it kind of makes you look at it as like, well, how much does that make your offensive line really get better immediately? And that's certainly what they need. They need the offensive line to be better right now.
So, John, I know we're going to talk further about the Cowboys playing starting tonight, but looking around the rest of the NFC East, you had the Commanders. They grabbed Jahan Dotson. I don't think that worries the Cowboys too much, but, man, the Giants and the Eagles, how about a night one for them, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think the Eagles have had such a difficult time having success at finding wide receivers in the draft, so go and trade for A.J. Brown. And yeah, of course, he's going to be paid very well. But if you're the Eagles, that just seems like a no-brainer of a deal. And then for them to be able to get Jordan Davis, that's just a great day for the Eagles. And, the Giants knock it out of the park because those first two picks, those guys could have arguably been the first overall pick in the draft in Kayvon Thibodeau and the offensive tackle Evan Neal. And then now you look at them early in day two here, and they could potentially come away with Nakobe Dean, the linebacker out of Georgia. And if those are your first three picks, I don't see how anybody's not saying that they've had the best draft. So, and I know that things aren't. The division's not going to be won because of a good draft or whatever, but it certainly shows you that the Giants appear to be headed in a good direction. And that if you're the Cowboys, you need to be worried about that, because that's been the best thing you've had going for you over the better part of the last decade, is that you've been in good position to win the division. And when you win the division, you get to be in the tournament, as they say, and have a chance to make a deep run, which obviously they haven't done. That's my other issue, though, with the Tyler Smith, is that, so let's say he ends up being a Pro Bowl left tackle. Okay, I've already seen this. They've had a Pro Bowl left tackle in Tyron Smith. They've had a Pro Bowl right guard, they've had a Pro Bowl center in Travis Frederick, and they haven't gotten close to getting back to the Super Bowl. So even if this reaches the ultimate success of being a perennial Pro Bowler, like, I don't know that that's any guarantee that, okay, they got this pick right, now the Cowboys, they're back, they're going to be in Super Bowl contention. Like, they just need talent in so many other areas, and I just feel like there's some other players available that might have been able to help you immediately, as opposed to the project and projecting upside.
So you got like A.J. Brown going to the Eagles, and Hollywood Browns, he's off to reunite with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. The wide receivers were the position last night, and it was very clear how much of a premium there was on them, and then teams trading up to try to get some of the remaining wide receivers. But, John, I know you noticed this, and I know all Cowboys fans noticed this. What does that Amari Cooper deal look like after last night?
Yeah, not great, especially if he plays well. That's another thing Cowboys fans are going to be doing this year, and I know I'm going to be doing it, just covering the team, is the fact of, what if Amari Cooper has this huge year? Now, I know a lot of things are up in the air with Deshaun Watson and suspension and things like that, but let's say they click. What if Lyle Collins has a huge year? Let's say this plays at a Pro Bowl level. Like, just how bad that those moves are going to look. And I say those two scenarios because I don't think either one of them is just completely impossible. I think there's a decent chance that could potentially happen, that maybe just a new scenery, gets those guys going again, because it's not like either one of them is out of their prime. And so, yeah, obviously that doesn't look good. But, yeah, all the trading that's been going on, it makes you sit there and think, like, not just with wide receiver, but it's kind of like, okay, why aren't the Cowboys doing this? They didn't do any big moves in free agency to add players. Why aren't they trying to trade some of these picks or pick or something like that for a proven veteran player, whether it be at edge rusher, whether it be at wide receiver, whether it be another offensive lineman? You see these other teams doing it, and I think they're doing it because there's been so much uncertainty with this particular draft class. you kind of like to see a move like that. And if all these other teams are getting calls, the Cowboys are getting calls too. They're just turning them down.
John, so game two tonight, day 2, second and third round. Obviously, they have what they have available when they draft the rest of the weekend. Any ideas of what they must come out of it with?
Yeah, I feel like tonight it's 3 positions. It's wide receiver, edge rusher, and tight end. And I feel like out of those 2 picks that they have tonight, 2 out of those 3 will be addressed. And I don't think they'll take a tight end in the second round. I think it would be more along the lines of, hey, one of these top tight ends is still there in the third, and at pick 88, they address that there. But I think in a perfect world, they'd go wide receiver here in the second round, whether it be a John Mechie from Alabama, George Pickens from Georgia, Jalen Torbert from South Alabama. There's some decent wide receivers there. So Sky Moore from Western Michigan, and then edge rusher too. I think that you could potentially have a guy, if not in the second round, there Boye Mafe, Abikite from Penn State is still there. David Ajab, the edge rusher from Michigan, who had the Achilles injury. So yeah, it might be kind of a redshirt type year for him where he doesn't get impacted right away, but I can see that being of interest to the Cowboys. There's some edge rushers there that make some sense as well. I think that there's a lot of still good prospects out there for the second and third round. There can be guys that could help them right away. But yeah, I would say edge rusher and wide receiver is the 2 areas that not only do they line up with the talent with where that is in this draft class, but also where the Cowboys are picking and where those potential holes could be filled. So if they don't take a wide receiver, edge rusher, or tight end with these 2 out of these next 2 picks, I'll be surprised.
John, I know some of it's tongue-in-cheek and some of it's just having fun, but what did you make of Jerry flashing up their paper there with all of their info on it, and then having Steven's like, no, don't do that, and then all the Coach Jerry stuff that's been mentioned, like, I know some of it's just having fun, but there's also a side to it that you just, it's Jerry Jones after all, and there's all those jokes about him being the coach and all that. Just what have you kind of made of the other side of the draft for the Cowboys so far?
So from my perspective of covering the team, I enjoy it because it makes the job interesting and there's never a dull moment. If I'm a fan of this team, I'm like, I don't like that unless your team's winning. And with the offseason that they've had, on the field, off the field, the way that they finished last season, the last thing I'd really want right now is everyone joking around. I'd want a little bit more of a serious tone, like, hey, we got to get this right. We don't spend significantly on other teams' free agents, so this draft absolutely has to hit. And so that it just kind of, I don't know, and even like tweeting out some of the videos from that, that's a lot of the sense I got from the fan base. It's just kind of like, wow, I'm glad everyone's just having a great time and laughing it up, taking these jokes, and it's just like you kind of feel like everyone's kind of looking at you, laughing at you, like I can't believe that this is the way things are being run. Again, if you're winning and you're having success, you can do some of that stuff and people just kind of brush it off. But when you're not having success, you're coming off a disappointing season, and then all of the other issues off the field that happened, I can see how it frustrates fans even more than maybe they were frustrated 24 hours ago.
John, thank you very much, man. We appreciate it. One quarterback, Kenny Pickett taken. Willis and Malik Willis remains on the board for whoever needs that, perhaps in the second round. The Cowboys with Tyler Smith of Tulsa, the offensive tackle who will play, they hope, start at left guard next to Tyron Smith.
That was pretty much universally panned once it was made, that pick. And, I don't know Tyler Smith's NFL upside, won't pretend to. I do know that penalty stat was very alarming that they had out there pretty quick, especially for a team that's already as penalized as the Cowboys are. I mean, the fact that you don't know that he's going to be ready right away, and yet he was a first-round pick for you, and your need is offensive line, and you drafted a guy who might not be ready yet. It was very puzzling. So they clearly, Will McClay's done a good job over there, and they generally draft pretty well, especially in the first round. But that one, I think, had a lot of people puzzled just based on draft boards, based on analysis from scouts on his game. There's things to like, certainly, but there's also a lot of things that make you go, okay, not a first rounder. I'm not sure what they're doing there. But, hey, ultimately we'll see in the next, 2-3 years who was right and who was wrong. And hopefully for the Cowboys, they were right, and they can sit back and be the ones laughing. But, yeah, that was all just kind of bizarre. That pick itself was bizarre, given who else was still out there and available. And then just the goofiness afterwards of Jerry showing their draft chart, and then the whole Coach Jerry thing and all. Like, I know, it was in fun for the most part and kind of tongue-in-cheek, but then again, there was also kind of a part where I was like, this is almost kind of like uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Yeah,
it was kind of weird. But
we have the audio. Well, then we have the video of it. Let's Armstrong. It's not very long. I don't think it is. But this is from Dallas Cowboys and the NFL draft. And here's what Jerry was saying when they were asking him about Tyler Smith. Was he a reach, etc.
Keeping Green and Zion Johnson. And again, we don't have that, and I don't want to get into that, but let me put it like this. We have both of them. This was printed 3 days ago below him. Both of those players are below him. Can you see that?
Steven is as red as an apple.
Yeah. Put that damn thing down.
Are you serious? I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. No, we really did have them rated below him. No, we really did. Both of them.
Yeah. All right. There's Jerry.
Yeah, that was.
It's like, God, you just gave up our board.
I know so many people had to have just ripped out their phones that moment trying to take a picture, and probably so many people trying to zoom in on that video last night. But yeah, that was kind of awkward to say the least. And Steven was bright red. I mean, maybe he just came off the beach or something, but I don't know. I think he was more like, Dad, really? Are you really pulling out the draft sheet right now?
One note, we have Bill Brock, former Baylor women's basketball assistant coach, coming up in the next segment. He's now the head coach at McLennan Community College. He'll join us in the next segment. Bob Sturm, who's really good at what he does. He breaks down talent and draft, and he's on the ticket in Dallas, but he's also writes for theathletic.com.
I actually tuned in for the Cowboys pick to hear his analysis. He didn't like it.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that in the group text with Paul and also with me. If they take Tyler Smith in round 1, I will submit my retirement papers. # win-win. Well, they did. And, of course, it went national, and he was being honest. He didn't like the pick. He didn't like the option, at least, put it that way. And I actually called him today. We were going to try to get him on, but he's on at about the same time we are. But, yeah, it's been interesting. The New York Post actually said a guy's tweet came back to haunt him. Bob Sturm's fine. He's great with what he does on the radio and also great with analyzing talent. And so that was kind of funny last night. Excuse me, I almost sneezed. That's how I sneeze. I don't. I cracks my back. I feel better about that as well. Another note. I was going to bring that. Oh, now that's about the transfer portal with the Miami story as well. So Craig, update again. Wong at Miami, who last night his agent said, hey, he needs to have a better NIL deal because of what Nigel Pack at Kansas State was getting to come to Miami, and the update today is calm things down at least a little bit.
Yeah, what somebody who was speaking earlier didn't realize is that pay for play is illegal and it's against the rules. And part of our conversation was talking about how this is, against the rules, and this is pretty clearly pay for play. And so Miami's found a way to kind of damage control that. The sponsors aren't talking to the team and all this, but yet again, you can't explain to me how. So the sponsors are just adding players to your roster without the coaches having any say in that. So try and explain that to me, because that part's not making any sense. But on Isaiah Wong, last night, basically his people let it be known that he would transfer if his NIL deal wasn't boosted. And Miami's Life Wallet booster, NIL guy, I think John Ruiz is his name, basically said, no, we're not doing that. You signed a contract, and this is the deal that you're getting, and we're not going to change it. And if you want to leave, so be it. And now today, he is staying. Isaiah Wong announces he's staying at Miami. And apparently, I guess the agreement that they came to, based on what's out there right now, is that, I guess in their conversation, he and this booster, agreed that they would try and find some additional NIL opportunities for him, I guess, to give him some more money. So that's convinced him to stay. And probably what also convinced him to stay was, even people who are for NIL going like, this is the BS side of it that we don't like. And I know some people will call BS on that, which is fine. We can argue in circles over it, and I don't really care. But I think mostly what probably settled it down was the fact that it's blatantly illegal what they were talking about doing. doing the whole pay-for-play thing, and it was so obvious. So, yeah, I think that they realized that was a conversation that needed to happen behind closed doors, and so it has, and so Isaiah Wong will stay on for Miami basketball.
You got to wonder, who was the first person to contact Wong, his agent, and or Ruiz, who's the guy running the NIL deal from the University of Miami? Like, who was the first person to call? That's part of what happened today. Also, we'll have Bill Brock in the next segment, as I mentioned as well. West Virginia picked up a men's basketball transfer. Emmett Matthews Jr., who was at West Virginia, then left, is back at West Virginia. That's one of the transfer portals. He had been at the University of Washington, averaged 12 points and almost 5 rebounds per game.
And again, Terrence Shannon from Tech to Illinois, and I was reading a little bit more of the argument going on with Tech fans and Michigan fans and Illinois fans and all sorts of fans over Terrence Shannon, and I guess the big talk is, as best as I can tell, that, and I don't know how much of this is just talk and how much of it's like actually the situation that happened. So I'm going off, what people are posting like everybody else, including the parties involved. Many of those tweets now deleted from some Michigan basketball players because the big to-do is that Mark Adams blocked Terrence Shannon from going to Michigan, and therefore he ended up at Illinois. And I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. I did see a couple of Michigan basketball players tweeting at Mark Adams and basically talking noise and calling him out. And again, most of those are now deleted. So I'm sure a coach or, maybe their own minds realize like this is probably not the best idea. So regardless, Terrence Shannon's going to Illinois. Michigan feels like they should have gotten him, but that somehow Mark Adams blocked Shannon from heading to Michigan. So sort all that out. I'm sure it will get sorted out and we'll learn the clear picture. But bottom line is the Illini picked up a pretty good basketball player.
When we come back, Bill Brock, now at McLennan Community College, former Baylor, longtime assistant coach, will join us. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We have touched on the NFL draft. We've touched on that Miami basketball player and kind of a lot of the stories that came out of that, and a lot that you also. And by the way, Vorian Angel, 1811. When was the last time a Power 5 conference did not have a first-round pick? The Big 12 now is in year 2.
Yeah.
And I have a list, and we'll get into this about 5:20. Matt Alkire is going to join us, NFL draft expert. He's going to join us about what he thought were the best hits, his story of the first round, the best stories of the first round, and also as well rounds 2 and 3 tonight. We're now joined by McLennan Community College women's basketball coach Bill Brock, longtime assistant coach at Baylor, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Bill, it's great. First of all, it's great to talk to you last night. Congratulations. What does it mean to get back into what you love, which is coaching?
Well, I think it's a situation where I enjoyed what I did last year, being away for a year, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that Mac Rhodes and Dr. Livingstone provided me an employment opportunity for the past year. But I made the comment yesterday to someone that anytime this coaching's in your blood, it's hard not to do it. It'd be about like you trying to go out and do a door-to-door salesman job when you're used to doing what you've been doing. And so I'm very excited about being back, Smoak, and just so thankful for the opportunity that Sean Trocum and Dr. McCown gave me.
Bill, what did the year away, what kind of perspective did that give you?
Well, I'll tell you what it didn't do anything about changing my perspective. I've always loved the game, and I love to coach and teach. But I tell you what it did provide me. It provided me an opportunity not to miss one single game and stuff from my grandchildren. And I thought that was just an awesome experience. And, they're involved in a lot of activities, and both my daughters and all 4 of my grandsons live right here close. And my wife and I, we made the decision last year whenever Coach Mulkey decided to go to LSU that we just couldn't go because family is so important to us, and we just had to choose family over work.
Well, I'd heard that as well, and you and I talked just a couple of times about a year ago, and it's great. It's so happy to have your name attached now to McLennan Community College. Not a surprise. Sean Trocum does a great job with their athletic department as well. Was there did you have offers after a year ago, about a year ago now? Did you have other opportunities besides this one you got now?
Oh, I had an opportunity at last year for 2 Power 5 situations to actually come and be their associate head coach and help. But But it was, why would I want to do that? I mean, if I was going to leave the area, I would have gone with my buddies to LSU. I mean, that would have been silly because I miss those guys, and man, what a great year they had down there. What a great year Baylor had here, and I missed that level of competition. But it was, guys, it's nothing more than, which is a big deal. It's the fact that I was going to stay here. And this is the only college job that I could have taken or that checked all the boxes of being able to stay here and not being able, so I could watch my grandson who's in the varsity athletics out at Lorena and watch my other grandsons who are involved in the city stuff. And for that to happen, it really, and I know people say this a lot and stuff, but this is the sincere, real thing. The Lord did a lot of stuff in the last 10 days to make this all come to the front and to line everything up so that I was able to get back into what I love to do, and that's to coach basketball.
I know that in the coaching profession, more often than not, you don't have the allegiances, the rivalries like a fan would, for example. And thinking of that, you spent all that time at Grayson. Is it going to be a little weird to have MCC across your chest?
Probably. I guess if I would dwell on it or not. But some of the coaches in that league have already reached out and welcomed me back in the league. I mean, there's not many of them left when I was there. But in fact, the head coach at Grayson called me and welcomed me back to the league. He and I, Coach Damon and I have known each other for a long time. And not really. I mean, when the ball goes up, it's your team versus their team. And I won't be thinking about, who we're playing. I'll just be thinking about the MCC team and the highlasses and what we can do, whoever's on the other side of the court trying to beat them.
I know you interviewed at Baylor once that transition went about, but I got to say this. When Mac and Dr. Livingstone, did they reach out to you and say, and I would think this is an incredible compliment. Yeah, you'd like to have coached at Baylor, but that they said, hey, stay with us. We want to take care of you?
Mac Rhodes had made me a promise a few years ago that if anything like this ever happened, that as long as he was here, that I would have a position with Baylor Athletics. And he and I had a really good relationship. And he's a man of his word to me. And he and Dr. Livingstone did that for me and my family, and I will forever be grateful and thankful. And they both know how much I wanted to get back into coaching. And when this opportunity became available, it's just there's just no choice there. I mean, yes, I'm going to do it because I get a chance to be back on the sidelines.
How much women's basketball did you watch during your year off?
A lot. But I've always I've done that anyway, and then I kept up with stuff and on social media, what was going on. Just like now, I watch every day about who goes in the portal and who's signing who, and so I don't feel like I've really been off a year, except I just didn't get to go to 2 games a week. But I did get to attend games, Mayor Hardin Baylor, where my son-in-law is the head coach, Mark Moorfield.
Yep.
I actually helped him some this year, and that was fun within itself. But, he needs his team, I need my team, and thank goodness we're not going to be on the same level and have to play each other. That wouldn't be a good family deal.
I think you need to have a non-conference game with them, just for kicks, right?
No, I tell you what we will do, though. We will scrimmage.
Yeah, that's even that's good.
Yeah, we will scrimmage, and because they've really got a good team coming back next year. And, and I have no idea what we're going to have, but, I do know this. We're going to work at it and try to get the level of the women's basketball team up to the level the other teams are at out there. What a great run they've got going right now at MCC Athletics.
Yeah, no question, man. They do. I drive by their baseball and softball and soccer fields every day, and the baseball team, of course, is. I know the other ones are doing well, but the baseball team with a good guy, a guy Mitch Thompson, has had incredible success. Bill, what did you learn about yourself in the last 12 months?
Well, I think I came to the realization that I hit a point in the road and I had to make a decision. I had to just keep going and keep working and going where, like LSU with down there, or stay here and make family my big priority. Like, it's easy to preach stuff, but it really hits home when you got to make the decision what you preached. And I've always preached the importance of a family, and I always will, and my faith. And I think that's what got us through. There were some tough days. I'm not going to lie about it. And the toughest time was for me is that when I left Baylor, and then through the summer, not going out on the road, not recruiting and things like that, and being involved, because I like being in that arena. I've always been. I'm probably sort of a weird duck. I mean, I like the recruiting. I like practice, and more than I do the games. I think games are the rewards. And then probably my number one thing is I just love to see kids start out and come in as a young person and improve and grow and see what they are, how they develop and stuff through the first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you had a chance just to kind of live a different life for a while.
I did. And, not the same pace that I was accustomed to. And it did make me realize that I do like that pace. I do like the grind. And some people don't. That's what really gets them out of the business. But I do like the grind, and I enjoy that. And I'm looking forward, to trying to take what we have out there. We're Candace Thomas will be staying on as my assistant, and she knows all the kids that are there. And we're trying to decide who to bring back and what we need for next year. The junior college is different than the situation in the Power 5 conferences. Junior college scholarships are renewal year to year. It's not like the 2-year deal, like Baylor would be a 4-year. It's not like a 2-year deal in junior college. Mm-hmm. So it all has to be redone every year. And I don't know whether that's good or whether that's bad. That's just what the rules are.
When you get hired as a new coach, no matter where it is, there's a honeymoon period. Is there anything in particular they're going to be able to get done for you and the basketball program? Anything in, as far as, I don't know, you got the gym. I've run by it many times. I've gone by it. Anything in particular that you're going to try to get upgraded?
Well, it's sort of funny that you mentioned that. Yesterday, Sean Trokem and I were talking, and there are some things right now that are in play to upgrade the Highlands. And it's just, they do have the money and resources out there to do some things. And I think it's very important to continually upgrade so that you don't become stale in your program. And I do think that Sean will attempt to get us in our programs whatever is possible for us to have and within the budget in order for us to try to upgrade and stay on top in that area of facilities and resources. And I just think that's important. I think athletics is important at MCC. Academics is tremendous out there. And their enrollment, it's outstanding for a 2-year school and the number of programs that they offer. And I want our program to be up there with the rest of the programs, and Sean Trokem played there. And it's sort of ironic that I was a coach of Grayson whenever she played the MCC. And so I've known Sean for a long time. I've known Ricky for a long time. I knew Wendell for a long time. prior coach, and I have a lot of respect for what they've done. And there's been winners there before, and I'm just going to try to bring a winner back there.
You are known for coaching the bigs inside. And not that that's not it, but that's one of the specialties, and we know the history when you were at Baylor. What was it like to watch Nalissa Smith and also Queen Egbo get drafted so quickly in the WNBA draft?
Pretty cool. Continues that tradition of Baylor post players into the WNBA. And it's funny that you mentioned that. Melissa and I were just texting last night, and she is having a blast, and things are going well for her. They have their first exhibition game on Saturday, and I think at times she said she's showing them how she can shoot the three a little bit. But one, and I never thought about this, but one thing that she has said is, the lane's a little bit wider.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that just gives her a little more space to operate if she gets the ball in that area. And, I never really thought about that, but that's true. And but I know this. Her and Queen are two special kids, and those are I like to watch them, the way they've grown from their freshman year to their senior year. And I hope both of them are able to hang there and play together, because that could be pretty special.
Bill, thanks for your time. Congratulations. A lot of people on the chat, others that are excited for you to have this opportunity to get back in the business that you love, the profession you love, and so good at it as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good weekend.
Bill Brock, MCC women's basketball coach, could have gone to LSU, wanted to stay here locally because of family. That's what he said. And now has the opportunity to coach at MCC. Mentioned early on when he mentioned college basketball about the great run that Kim Mulkey and LSU had in Baton Rouge, and also what Nikki Collin and Baylor had at Baylor as well. And so I thought that the note, and he told me this last night about how Mack Rhodes and Dr. Livingstone gave him that opportunity, or wanted him to stay on campus, which gave him something to do for the past year working within Baylor athletics as well. Second 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T, or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. A couple of things to get here to the round 2 and 3 tonight of the NFL Draft. We're going to get into some of the players who are still available, and you should see, after nothing in the first round, a pretty good run on the Big 12 with Breece Hall. Obviously, hopefully Jalen Petrie as well among the quarterback, Ritter at Cincinnati.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter at Cincy. I'd say too. If you want to count the new Big 12 like we are, Logan Hall would be another one. But the Big 12 got shut out. They did have a couple guys, Logan Hall and Jalen Petrie, Breece Hall, that you thought might be able to sneak in at the end. But then when that wide receiver run happened the way that it did in all those trades, it got crazy, and that kind of eliminated any chance for some other type of craziness that would have led there. But the Big 12 will not be shut out tonight. That's a guarantee.
Matt Alkire will join us, NFL draft guy. He'll join us today in the next segment. I would think Breece Hall will go very quickly tonight. There's a couple of Nakobe Dean, the star from Georgia, linebacker. They had 5 defensive players taken. He wasn't one of them. Of course, I mentioned Malik Willis. And we'll get to some of those. Oklahoma with a couple of guys that might go tonight as well. I want to get into Chris Paul in the NBA playoffs. Phoenix is going to play Dallas in the next round. Dallas is in the second round of the playoffs for the first time since they won the NBA title, I think back, 2011. And they beat the Jazz, beat them up pretty good, and just destroyed them when it comes to three-point shooting. Just destroyed Utah. And Utah's a program, a franchise. You wonder if they tear that down.
Well, that's a franchise heavily Baylor influenced as well, yes, with Dennis Lindsey there at the top, running things behind the scenes. And then, of course, you've got a couple of players on that roster. But is there more than one?
Royce O'Neal, and then Jared Butler's a part of it.
Yeah, so a couple players a part of it. That's right. Jared just doesn't play a whole lot. But, yeah, I mean, what a wild sequence there at the end, right? The travel call. I mean, in that moment to get called for a travel, just an awful sequence for the Jazz. But, man, as a Mavericks fan, it hadn't been the most fun run for the last decade since that championship. But that championship, that was so special, that time period going to those games, that'll be with me for forever. But it is great to see them back in the postseason and actually making a dent. Luka is an incredibly special player. Jalen Brunson's made himself millions upon millions of dollars this postseason, and they've got a really good thing going. I mean, they're a good team, and they were able to weather the storm without Luka initially, and then they got him back, and he's looked great, and it's just made them that much better. And I do think it will lead to the Jazz, having to face a lot of questions this offseason about their direction, and obviously, not quite everything is right there, So I don't know what turn that takes for them, but it does seem like there are some turns in front of them. And now, Dallas and the Suns. I mean, Chris Paul was incredible last night, as I'm sure you're about to point out. So that's going to be a tough task. They're obviously very talented very talented as well, and at the top for a reason. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. But I like the Mavs' chances. I mean, I think that, so long as Luka is healthy and Jalen Brunson's playing the way that he is and Dinwiddie and all these other guys, I mean, they've got a lot better team than I expected at this stage, and it's been just a lot of fun.
So Chris Paul, the 35-year-old, I think he's 35, is actually playing maybe his best basketball of his career right now. They won it all last year. The Devin Booker had been hurt, and so he had missed some time. But last night he was 14 for 14 from the field. He was 4 for 4 at the free throw line. He also had 8 assists and 5 rebounds. I was part of, in the background with Sports Center, whatever, earlier today. It's the most field goals made in a playoff game without a miss in NBA playoff history. Now think about that, because you've had some guys are going to miss shots, LeBron, Kobe, Michael Jordan, whatever, but man, that's the most field goals made in an NBA playoff game without a miss in history.
Yeah, CP3 wishes he was still 35. He is 30. He's about to be 37, so he's getting up there. That's not much of a difference, I know, but he is on the other side of his 30s, and to be nearly 37 years old and still, putting up a record performance like last night. I mean, Chris Paul's one of the greatest of all time. There's not a debate even about that, and he's still very good this deep into his career. He's going to be a bit of a headache for the Mavs, along with the Booker and the rest of that roster. So it's going to be a fun series, and yeah, that was incredible to watch. When you mentioned Sports Center, though, the thing I think of last night from Sports Center is not any highlights. It is Scott Van Pelt basically eulogizing his dog. I don't know if you saw that. I think you would have bawled your eyes out if you would have watched it, knowing you. Maybe not, but I don't know that there were too many dry eyes for the people who did tune in and see Scott Van Pelt's one big thing last night. That was my Sports Center takeaway, but I did see a lot of the talk about Chris Paul, and it's deserved. He's an incredible player.
Yeah, and he's gotten better with age. It's kind of like a bottle of wine. Not that he wasn't good early.
He's very
but
good.
He won that ring, of course, last year with Devin Booker and Phoenix or whatever. Now, Wilt Chamberlain once was 16 for 16 and 18 for 18 in a single game, but it was in the regular season. And of course, back then they had guys that Bill Russell was a hell of a player, great player, the greatest winner ever in NBA history. Nate Thurmond, among some others that he played against back in the day when Wilt was big, and eventually Alcindor, eventually Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But that's incredible what Chris Paul. Now the Mavericks get Phoenix. Now, when the playoffs started, that was probably one that they're obviously the underdogs. But with Devin Booker not quite all in physically, you wonder. It took them 6 games to take care of the Pelicans after winning last night 115-109.
Yeah, man, that's something you got to monitor. He was back, though, so, I mean, there's at least that for them. But, yeah, I mean, again, that's going to be a great series, Phoenix and Dallas. I can't wait to see that kick off, and I just hope, on my end, the Mavs continue playing the style of ball that they're playing and continue playing well, and I think if they do that, then they can give Phoenix everything they want and more, and they can win that series. But, obviously got to keep it up. But it's just them being in this position after so long of just them even not making the playoffs or getting to the playoffs, and knowing that, like, okay, this will be fun sort of fun for a week or so, and then they're inevitably going to exit. I mean, now, though, they got a team where you go, how far can they take this?
Yeah,
and that's what's exciting is, like, I don't think that beating the Suns is impossible by any means. I don't think anybody does. So that's what gets your juices flowing is now that they've got this first one behind them, and they've got that that weight off their shoulders of the stretch of how long it's been. Now they're free. They've done that, and now just go continue playing ball. And I'm going to sit back and enjoy every second of it.
Playing with house money now against defending champions, and who knows, maybe steal a game early. Who knows, the way they're playing with great confidence with the guys around Luka. And playing without him for a long time might have made them better. We got to get to the break.
Did you see the one big thing, though, from Scott Van Pelt?
No, I did not.
Did anybody out here? No. I very rarely even watch Sports Center at this point because you can get highlights so many different ways and all of that. But I did see him. If you follow Scott Van Pelt, you know how much his dog meant to him. And so I happened to tune in last night. And if you need to, get some if it's been a little while since you've cried or something like that, then you could definitely watch that video. And if you're a dog owner particularly, I think it'll hit home for you. But it was very well done. Everything Scott Van Pelt does is, and just hat tip to him.
One more note. This is not a great note, but it's a story I want to share with you. There's a picture here of 2 young brothers, two sons of Cody Fuller. His brother Clay was a wide receiver at Baylor University. He's married. Clay is married. Armstrong, we got the picture. His wife is Mackenzie Robertson. This is Mike Trout and Bregman. These are two sons of Cody Fuller who the Red Raider dugout on Twitter put up, and I've known about this. Clay Fuller, of course, again, a former Baylor wide receiver. It's with heavy heart we report that Cody Fuller's fight is coming to an end. Cancer has advanced to a point that his options for treatment have been exhausted, and so he's in hospice. But these are two of the best players in baseball today and two of the best players in a long time what they do. And they had Mackenzie and Clay went to an Astros game at Minute Maid. Trout, who played minor league baseball with Clay Fuller when he was at Baylor, came over, met the young men, gave him a bat, both of them a baseball, the red bat that Trout uses, and then Alex Bregman took them all the way into the baseball clubhouse, which is like a sanctuary for, of course, pro athletes in baseball, and they toured the clubhouse, and it was unbelievable. I bring that up because you hear about sometimes the athletes that don't get it, and there's two right there, Alex Bregman and Mike Trout, who get it, and not a surprise that they do.
No, see, the problem is the media doesn't get it. The media shows us the 5% of guys who do the bad stuff or have mistakes in life, and they don't ever focus on things like this for the most part. That's not certainly going to lead SportsCenter, but some dude getting a DUI will. And that's unfortunate, but that's, I guess, what brings in viewers. Not to say they never do that kind of thing. They do some good stuff like that, but we probably – in today's age, use a lot more of the positive stuff. So while that is a sad story, that is a cool moment and well done by, Trout and Bregman and whoever else was involved in that to try and brighten up those boys' day and, have a little fun at the ballpark. So, I think a lot of that goes on. We just don't acknowledge it or see it all the time. Probably a lot more credit needs to be given to athletes for the stuff that they do off the field or off the court. But since we got that right in front of us, definitely kudos to those guys and definitely thoughts, best wishes, positive energy, whatever works for you for the family.
Cody and Cassie and their children, again, wishing him as he fights for his life right now. And Mike Trout, Alex Bregman, good for you, both young men as well. This is Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports. NFL Draft mock draft guru Matt Alkire will join us next on Sick on 365 Radio.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 months with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Summer driving is coming. Save now at Richard Carr's Summer is Coming Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 HD for $318 a month, or 2020 Buick Encore for $288 a month, or get a 2015 Cadillac SRX for $212 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better?
pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
End around trick play, looking to pass, and into the end zone for a touchdown as Thornton goes to Snead. Tyquan Thornton with a touchdown pass to R.J. Snead.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Paul Catalina is back Monday. Sikkim 365 Radio. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We're joined by Matt Alkire. If you like all 22 clips in college football and the NFL draft and much more, you can always get the film evaluator himself. We've had Matt on before many times. What he did, he ran the College Bowl game or the All-Star game in Vegas as well. Matt, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. How in the world do we try to put a bow around the first round? What was your biggest wow moment? Was it A.J. Brown getting traded? Was it something else?
It was A.J. Brown getting traded, yeah, especially for me. But hey, that's I'll gloat. I felt pretty good about that in Jordan Davis. But hey, that was a very nice moment. A very nice moment, yeah.
Matt, by the way, is a beloved Eagles fan. He's told us that before. Go ahead. Anything else?
There were a lot of teams had really good drafts. I was writing them today. It's funny, there was so much trading, so I feel like people got to really fill needs while addressing. There wasn't necessarily a super elite top 10 this year. I think there was a fall off afterwards. So, some things I was talking about today. You look at the Giants and they did a little different than I would have, but there are people that think that Kayvon Thibodeau's the best pass rusher in the draft. I don't, but he's certainly an elite one. So the Giants walk away with an elite lineman and an elite pass rusher. I mean, how much does that change your locker room right there? I mean, walking off the plane, you just got 2 franchise guys. And, for the Giants, you've now got Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, who those are 2 terrifying people. I wouldn't want them flushing the pockets of one another. I looked at Detroit and what Brad Holmes did up in Detroit. So he gets Aiden Hutchinson, and I hate to use the word safe with Aiden Hutchinson, but I think of Chris Long with Aiden Hutchinson. To me, he's going to be a guy for 10 years who's going to be really good. He might not be super elite, but I just always think he's going to be extremely dependable. But then he trades up. So it's funny you talk about trading for receivers. I thought the Eagles were going to trade up for Jamison Williams. He trades up. Everyone is thinking quarterback. And what does he do? He goes and gets a receiver that is just going to rip the top off the building. So there's so many teams in the first round that I think just made themselves so much better, but it wasn't that traditional draft. That drafts are never boring, but I think they just get a little bit monotonous. Last night for me, I was shocked by a lot of picks. So
I'm with you. It was not quarterback heavy, but I kind of enjoyed the difference in just seeing, another position being highlighted like wide receiver and just seeing kind of the chaos going on was interesting. What did you think of what has been a very hotly debated already over the last 16 hours or so? What did you think of the pick by the Cowboys, Tyler Smith, the Tulsa offensive lineman?
It's funny. When it was made, so when I was on last time, I told you guys I heard they like Trevor Penning. And last night I didn't write anything. Went right to sleep, passed out, whichever one you want to call that. I heard you got. I heard your. I heard your. You should hear Matt. I call him, and he just nods off and starts talking about a mock, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much me. That's a good description, Smithy. But yeah, no, I sponsored by Eagle Rare. So I look at Tyler Smith, and seriously, I think back to my childhood and my early teenage years, and the Cowboys have a great line now. When I think of the Cowboys and their offensive line, I mean, you arguably have, well, no, you do. You have a Hall of Fame, a first ballot Hall of Famer, Zach Martin. You've got a lot of talent. And I think back to the 90s, the guys now aren't what they were then in terms of those linemen would let you know that they just knocked you on your, I'll say, butt. Eric Williams was very vocal about the fact that he just ran over you. Nate Newton, left guard, left tackle, flexibility, which Tyler has, would just beat you to death. I mean, he'd pick you up and body slam you. And that's what Tyler does. So I could see Jerry Jones really falling in love with that, and I didn't think about it before the draft, that maybe Jerry just saw that physicality and really fell in love with that and said, hey, here's a guy that right now we can teach to play guard. I'm guessing he's going to play guard off the bat. And then down the road, because I've heard that at left tackle, we've got some injury concerns. Down the road, he can turn into our left tackle. That's what I'm guessing they're thinking. And if so, I mean, I'm just talking as an outsider. I dig the pick. Could I see why Cowboys fans would be upset about it? Definitely. Yeah. It's not, to me, it's sexy. I love offensive and defensive line, but I mean, Cowboys fans are used to getting CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott and all this stuff that me as an Eagles fan, I've been wanting while we're drafting Jalen Reagor. And I'm like, what did you just do? So I kind of get it, if that makes sense.
Another pick that it seemed to be, I guess, hotly debated is when that wide receivers run started. Obviously Drake London went off the board, and then it seemed like after that, beginning with Garrett Wilson, there was just that crazy run. And right after Garrett Wilson, it was Chris Olave, who the Saints traded up to get. Were you surprised by that?
I knew that was coming.
You did?
No, I knew that question was coming.
Okay.
Yeah. So I immediately, I tweeted out, hey, here's Dev Henderson. Because you think of the Saints offense over the years, and they've always had, even like Ted Ginn never ended up being that deep guy, but they've always had that 80-yard touchdown guy. It's always been there. So, I talked to a friend of mine, Devin Jackson, who's just a really smart football guy. I said, I think he fits it. I think they could trade up for him. And right when the trade up hit, I thought it was Jamison Williams, just like you said. I had written this season a lot of, in fact, anybody in personnel I talked to in the league really loved Olave and really said, hey, people outside of the league do not know how good we think he is. And I was flat out told by everybody except for one team, he won't make it outside of the top 15. I was surprised, however, that he went in front of Jameson. So, but he didn't have to wait too long.
Matt, I don't know for sure the third or fourth round picks Washington picked up with their trade. I was hoping they were going to take a dynamic receiver to help with somebody not having to always just know that where McLaurin is. So they had a chance to get in that run. They moved back to get Dotson at Penn State, who seems to be a really talented and a great route runner, whatever else, good hands. They moved back and took a wide receiver when they could have had Olave or Jamison Williams. Why?
I don't know is the answer. So my comp for Jahan Dotson, and it's a compliment because I think very highly of him, is Terry McLaurin.
Oh, great. Twins.
Yeah. I love Jahan. I've been a big fan. He's from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. So I watched him play in high school a bit. He was just a big name kid, and I think he's and by the way, I don't think it's a bad pick by the Redskins. It's just a lot of what he does. To me, I think he is it was bold to say, I think he's a better version of Terry McLaurin. Just he plays so much bigger than he is. The way he adjusts to the ball is really uncanny. His catch radius for how small he is, I don't get how he does it. He just does a lot of things that Terry does, and I've thought that for a couple years now. So when they drafted him, it was funny. I looked at my wife and I said they really must like Terry McLaurin types. I thought that they would go with more of like a field stretch. I really thought people were going to try to go after Williams High because everybody goes after that speed trait. I don't think it's a bad pick. I think you really went after a guy that is what you have, and that's fine. I'll take two of those. Just odd to me.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. I think that's what everybody was kind of wondering is don't we kind of already have this? But either way, if you say he's a good player, so they could use good players. That's for sure. This draft was different, as we mentioned a couple times now, because of the lack of quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett does ultimately stay in Pittsburgh and is now a member of the Steelers. I know there's been all the talk about hand size and things like that, but just kind of your thoughts on the quarterback group entering tonight. Do you think we'll see a run because there was a lack of it last night? And for Pickett and the Steelers, what do you think about that combination?
It was really funny. I had heard for a little while that I thought Pickett was going to go to the Steelers, and I'd said that, and for some reason, a particular Steelers publisher kept saying, "Why do you hate us?" I don't know what they don't like about Kenny, but they really wanted Malik. I guess. I talked to you guys before. I only had two guys in the second round. That doesn't mean anything. I have Malik Willis as a third rounder, and Sam Howell. I would think four guys will go in this round. I'm just wondering how quickly they get traded up for tonight, because there's still a lot of very talented players left on the board. On my personal board, and the whole who the hell is Mel Kiper thing. I mean, who am I? It doesn't really matter. But I have two first rounders still left on the board at corner. And then there are some guys that I thought would go in the first round. And one was to Tampa Bay, who has the first pick. So it's obviously going to affect it. I don't know how much of a run to predict, because when I talked to personnel people, they told me at least four would go in the first round, and that didn't happen. So, I don't know how to answer you other than I was given the information, I followed it, and the information didn't pan out. So, I will say good for Cole Strange, though, by the way. Great kid.
Yeah.
Very happy about that.
Yeah.
But because Belichick is the one that drafts him, right, then even if there are like, what the hell is that? It doesn't matter. It's washed out because Belichick's the one that drafted him?
I mean, I have two opinions on it. My first opinion on it is it's a reach, in my opinion, from what I saw. I watched Cole play. I had him as a third-round pick. I would have loved to have him. I don't know a team that didn't like him. And my opinion is the reaction on it is, you took him too high for everyone else. You apparently took him where you wanted him, though. So I don't really care that it's Bill Belichick. It's any team. Is it fair to criticize it? Sure. I wasn't a fan of the video of McVay and the GM from the Rams. I don't know. I remember my first beer. Was
they had definitely had a couple. That was very clear. Yeah.
I mean, when the pick came through, I had been sitting there having my bourbon all night. I mean, I said, good for Cole. I mean, I don't know. I don't get the reaction of that. Good thing we wasted our time at 104. Well, he wasn't going to be there at 104, so I don't know. Do a better job.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a guy that doesn't work in the league. So I don't care. I'll say it. I just don't. These kids worked harder than to have that. So, but no, Bill doing it, or Coach Belichick doing it. I don't think it adds anything to it. But I'll tell you this: I do think Cole Strange is going to kick some butts in the NFL. So I hope he lives up to it. It'd be cool.
Matt, is there anything more humorous each year in the draft than the middle finger the Packers give to Aaron Rodgers in the first round with their selections?
No, nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing. It was brilliant too. I actually it's a really good draft though. I mean, you got good players. I know just the talk that I had heard on how much people loved Quay Walker in the league. He is so good. And then Devontae Wyatt, he's a little polarizing because he's got some off the field stuff that may or may not come out that I don't know how they're going to feel about that, but some teams heard it, some didn't. But staying off of that, as a player, he's extremely good too. So they have an awesome defense now. It's just I don't know what to say for Aaron. I mean, I would think you would get tired of it after a while, but then again, he had a lot of years to win, and he had a lot of receivers. So at this point, they got to build a defense around him too. So
Nakobe Dean, Breece Hall, Logan Hall, who's a young man who played high school ball here in our backyard in college at Houston, Jalen Petrie. These are some of the names that are out there. How quickly, you don't see them staying out there very long, do you?
I think Logan Hall's the first pick off the board. I thought Logan was going to get taken by the Buccaneers. I still do. Logan's phenomenal. Love Logan to death in terms of the player. The first way sounds a little weird when I say it. Breece Hall, he's running back number one. I don't think it's close, so he should go fast. Who else did we say there? Petrie. I don't know where Petrie's going to go. I've heard solid second round, so I expect him to. Nakobe Dean, I think he might wait. I think he might be waiting until the end of the second round. The team that I would most say if he's going to get picked up a little earlier is the Washington Redskins. Jamin Davis last year was a guy that I thought they'd really like. They did take him in the first. They've moved him out to weak side linebacker, and I could see both of those coaches really liking that field general in Nakobe. So Redskins wouldn't surprise me with him at all.
Matt, thank you, man. Enjoy. Sit back, relax, and enjoy as a talent goes into 32 more picks, 64 picks tonight as well with rounds 2 and 3. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
All right, thanks, man.
Matt Alkire, all 22 clips with us. Came on. Again, he ran the All-Star game in Vegas. Love the Baylor players. And now we see what happens tonight.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Jalen Petrie should go in the second round just based on what every single piece of intel has said. Every report, every analysis, everything has had him as a second rounder, if not in the late first, which obviously didn't happen. So if Jalen Petrie is not picked in the second round, then and he has to go in the third round. But that would obviously be very disappointing. And I think tonight with rounds 2 and 3. That with the running receivers, maybe a Tyquan Thornton gets a call tonight because, I mean, he's ultimately, I mean, in the next 5 to 10 guys that are remaining now after the run yesterday, and obviously there's a need for receivers, but, I would think that he's a candidate to possibly go tonight. JT Woods a candidate to possibly go tonight. But those would probably be the 3 I'd feel best about. Baylor's bulk is, and we've said this from day one, is always going to be the day 3, the 4 through 7. But I do think they'll end up with at least a couple of guys getting their names called tonight. And if I'm wrong on that, I mean, I'll just say Jalen Petrie for sure should. And then if Woods and Thornton were to fall in the 4th, that wouldn't be a shocker. But do they have a chance to get picked tonight? Yeah, I'd say there's a fair chance for all 3 of those guys.
Lance Zierlein, NFL media draft analyst for NFL.com. I was looking at his mock, and there's mocks of dozens and redone deals because of who was drafted or who wasn't. Last night, he actually has Tyquan Thornton going earlier than Jalen Petrie, with both of them in the second round.
Well, the receivers, again, after last night, I mean, we saw how important they are, so that would make sense because Tyquan was looked at as like a top 15 to top 20 wide receiver based on just, the average of all the rankings that are out there. And you saw a boatload of them go off the board last night. So by default, he's a top 10 receiver sitting on the board right now. So with 2 rounds and plenty of teams clearly still needing help at that position, I don't see more A.J. Brown, trades happening. I mean, if there are more trades tonight, that wouldn't be a shocker. But, I mean, the magnitude of what we saw last night is probably not going to be met. So, yeah, that wouldn't be a shock. So, Tyquan, Jalen, JT, those would be my safest bets as far as potentially who we're talking about tomorrow morning.
8 teams did not have a pick in the first round. Now, there might be less. Now, I guess this was printed for me today, the NFL draft on notes that I get from the NFL from being a media member with NFL.com. 8 teams did not have a first-round pick. 8 teams had multiple first-round picks, which makes sense because some of them had 2. Some of them, of course, a couple of them had 3. But, guys like Isaiah Spiller from A&M, interested where he –
running backs, they didn't give a blank about them last night.
Breece Hall will be most likely, without question, that first one. But I think you'll see probably 3 or 4 A&M players go tonight as well. And what he said with Logan Hall, possibly the first name mentioned from Houston.
Yeah, and I just saw where Ross Matisic, former Baylor long snapper, just signed an extension with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was an undrafted free agent 2 years ago and played all 16 games last year at long snapper. So he's getting rewarded from the Cons and will be sticking around in Jacksonville with new head coach Doug Peterson. So congrats to Ross Matisic. And I do have to mention, I know you probably don't want to, a lot of people out there wish CP3 had a ring, but he does not have a ring.
I was wrong. I, for some reason, like an idiot, thought they were the defending champions, and Giannis is pissed at me.
Yeah, you said that, and I was just like,
well, how come? Here's my question. None of these youngins, someone should have come up and slapped me. I know, but you like
but yeah,
when I said it.
But yeah, I mean, we'd all love but the whole joke is CP no rings.
No
and
rings.
So, yeah, maybe he gets one this year, but he hasn't got one yet, although a lot of Chris Paul fans wish that he did because that would be a huge weight off his shoulders, I'm sure. But they got a team that's in the mix, but this Suns Mavericks series will be a heck of a lot of fun. And, the playoffs themselves have been entertaining. So quite a lot on tap. Baseball, NFL draft, all that good stuff here over the next couple of days.
And I believe it's the last weekend of many spring games as well, which makes sense because most semesters are starting to basically end here pretty soon. We'll have a note for you if you're a Baylor fan and you want to go to the game with Brigham Young and you want to have a weekend. It's kind of a Sikkim 365 event. We're going to put that up in the next segment as well. And also, which Power 5 school? No, which Power 5 schools have the longest drought since a first-round pick after the Big 12 was shut out the last couple of years? Which Power 5 schools have the longest drought without having a first-round pick? And a handful of them are from the Big 12. So including the one with the longest drought that could have ended last night, we thought, with the running back position. That's a tease. And also a note on Trevor Bauer and Major League Baseball. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels, where you can get a new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. First responders get an extra $500. This year's incredible deals are at Allen Samuels in Waco. Take home power, performance, and reliability with your new 2022 Ram today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, so here are the team's Power 5 college football programs with the longest drought since they had a first-round pick. I'll go from the most recent, but it's not recent. 2009, Virginia, Maryland, Texas Tech, Michael Crabtree, Kansas State, Josh Freeman, the quarterback, drafted by Tampa Bay.
That's part of the Big 12's problem is they're not producing great quarterbacks. I mean, beyond Murray and Mayfield and that kind of run right there, I mean, who has anybody really put in the league?
Some of them have put up huge numbers
as first-round talents.
Picks, yes.
I mean, Brock Purdy's a middle to late-round guy ultimately. Baylor doesn't have a guy that's eligible. Tech, Mahomes, obviously. But, Mahomes, Mayfield, that's like 4 or 5 years ago now at this point. I mean, we're getting kind of in that 5-year period. So that's, Texas hasn't, Ellinger went in the draft and he's with the Colts, but he wasn't a first-round pick, and just so on down the line. Will Grier wasn't a first-round pick for West Virginia, although he was a really good quarterback. Skylar Thompson obviously wasn't going to be a first-round quarterback, so I think that's part of what's played them, because when they were getting some guys in the first round, it was an Oklahoma quarterback or somebody along those lines.
Yeah, Mahomes obviously broke that drought of Michael Crabtree as well. Arkansas, Arizona, North Carolina State, these are some of the teams that have had a drought. Iowa State, 1973.
Was their last first-round pick?
George Edmondson, a running back who was drafted by the Houston Oilers.
I'm curious how Will McDonald's viewed. Obviously a long way out now. He decided to come back. I don't have any clue on what his NFL outlook would be, but he's definitely a draft guy and probably a relatively high, I would think, especially if he has a follow-up year that's pretty good. But, yeah, that's not ultimately terribly surprising. I think with the lack of emphasis on running backs, and that's really what they've specialized in, and they've had really good tight ends and some good receivers, but nobody that's been, just blow your socks off. That's a first-round draft pick right there. Breece Hall probably coulda, shoulda, woulda, but obviously the NFL had other ideas last night.
And, as good as Iowa State, well, again, we say that. They really have been erratic, and they've had this nice little, at least, consistency now with Matt Campbell, but it's been a long time, since 1973 for them to have a first-round pick, and now another year goes by.
Well, let's go out to the Big 12. Do you have, the Big 12 droughts, or do you have
I was looking at this story, and now I got a little problem with it. Kansas State, 2009. I would think...
Texas, we know, has been a decade because people posted that left and right last night.
And I saw somebody who sent me a note. The last offensive player drafted in the first round by Texas was 2006. Has it really been that long?
Drafted in the first round?
Offensive player, yes.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head. I don't have that memorized exactly, but I wouldn't be shocked by that. They have brought in a lot of really great players, but it just hasn't necessarily, and they put a lot of guys in the pros, but it hasn't, right before Art Browse got fired, they were closing out that 2016 class or whatever, and I remember there was this big battle for Patrick Hudson, the offensive lineman from Silsbee. He would sign with Baylor, even though Texas was hot on his trail. Ultimately, when Browse got fired, Hudson left Baylor. He went to Texas, along with a couple of other Baylor guys. Ended up medically retiring, and then not really ended up playing all that much, even though he was like a high 4 or 5-star guy. So, they've had some bad luck, and yes, some of it just hasn't translated. But going back to that time period, Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, kind of the whole area. I just remember hearing all about DeMarvin Overshown's not eligible yet, so he's a guy that we can be talking about next year. But
I thought he actually made the comment he was coming back, though. I wonder.
That's what I'm saying. I don't mean by eligible. What I meant was he's not in the draft yet.
Yes,
but
right.
We'll see with him, but that class of BJ Foster's not even on the team anymore. You know what I mean? And those were their really highly rated guys. So maybe some of that from 4 or 5 years ago will translate starting next year or something. You'd have to think Bijan Robinson, if he can have a really strong year, that maybe he would be a first-round pick if he leaves as a junior. But then again, we see the running back position is not highly valued right now, so that's not a guarantee necessarily, and he certainly hadn't put up the numbers that Breece Hall put up, although I know it's not about the numbers, it's about the special athlete that Bijan is. But yeah, I could believe that. Oklahoma's really done the supplying in many cases, and then you've had your Tex with a Patrick Mahomes and things like that, but it's been few and far between.
Jordan Brooks, linebacker from Tech 2 years ago.
Actually been pulling the weight.
Seattle. Mahomes in 2017. Before that, it was Michael Crabtree. Kansas State, I mentioned Josh Freeman. Terrence Newman before that, back in 2003.
And they'll have Deuce Vaughn next year. I don't know. He's a first-round pick, obviously, though. But, he'll definitely at least get them on the draft board for
Kansas,
sure.
Aqib Talib back in 2008. Of course, that was the team. They had that great team, that run with Mark Mangino.
But this is all like back in the Big 12's glory days of the 2000s. I mean, is basically what this is for the most part.
Yep. So
that's as big of a problem. I mean, the money thing is the biggest problem they're facing just in terms of TV rights and all that needing to get figured out. But when you talk about the gap in money, that's one thing. The gap in talent, though, that is another massive, I don't know if problem's the word, but an issue that's facing them is they are not putting guys in the top of the rounds in the top round of the NFL draft on a regular basis. I mean, 2 years, not a single pick, I think is, you can explain some of it away. Hey, it's a younger league maybe or whatever, but then it starts to just sound like excuses. They just, bottom line, they don't have the same type of elite quarterbacks like they had with Mahomes and Murray and Mayfield. Your two big dogs are not producing as much as you would like them to. Matter of fact, they've both been shut out just like everybody else the last 2 years. So, all that does add up. And you've only got 10 teams, too. Like, that's one thing when you compare them. SEC's got 14 teams. Big Ten's got 14 teams. Pac-12's got 2 more teams. ACC's got 4 more teams. So, that kind of, I mean, they could all be at 10 and they would still get 0 and everybody else would still have 2 or 3. But, having 4 less teams than most people doesn't help your chances anymore either.
When Texas made their run under Mac Brown, his first year, of course, he also had a Heisman Trophy winning running back in Ricky Williams. He was a first-round pick in 99. They had a first-round pick, 2 of them in 2001, Leonard Davis and Casey Hampton. This is when they start now. Couldn't beat Oklahoma yet, but they were getting there. Mike Williams and Quentin Jammer in 2002. 2004, the team that won the national title in 3, Roy Williams and Marcus Tubbs. No, that's 2006, 5 won the national. Roy Williams, Marcus Tubbs, 2004. Cedric Benson and Derek Johnson in 2005.
Yeah.
Vince Young, Michael Huff, 2006. Year after year with 2 of them. Michael Griffin, Aaron Ross in 2007. Now, if
that
you
was
look
when
at
they
the
were
last,
really DBU and then had an argument for that. LSU's kind of taken that now, and maybe even Ohio State to a level, but yeah, Mac was producing first rounders. There's no doubt, and Oklahoma was back then too.
Well, and I've got theirs as well. I'll get to them because it could take a while with what they've done.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing is that there's been whatever reasons you want to point to the money, becoming so much bigger in other conferences that they've started to separate in that way. Whether it's the fact that. One thing that did happen was Mac Brown handed over some Texas quarterbacks to some other schools. I know Ohio State's feasting on Texas guys right now. I mean, Garrett Wilson, you'd hope he was playing in the Big 12, but he's not. He's playing in the Big 10. And, A&M beating the SEC. That's pulled out a lot of the Texas guys that would otherwise maybe be Big 12 players as well. So it's self-inflicted. It's also out of their control. But bottom line is that, yeah, there's a drought and it's not good. And I don't know and maybe there's somebody I'm just not thinking of for next year that's an automatic type of a guy. But, yeah, it's that gap's growing. I would think so, but then again, at running back, I mean, who the heck really knows? But he's a special player, obviously, and a special mold and skills and all that. So I could see him being somebody that, does become a first-round pick. That wouldn't be surprising. I think Xavier Worthy after that, the year after, since he's only going to be a sophomore this year, you would think that he could probably be in that conversation. So they've got a couple of guys in the pipeline that will, unless they bolt in the next year, will be Big 12 first-round type picks. But there's not a ton of. There's a lot of good second, third, fourth round players. There's not a bunch of top first round guys.
OU had 2 and 20 with CeeDee Lamb and Kenneth Murray. Kyler Murray in 19, Marquise Brown in 19 was traded to Kyler Murray's team last night. Mayfield in 18 was the first overall pick.
By the way, that was cool the way the Cardinals did that.
No, it was.
They brought him in and all secretive and had him show up at the draft party. And I don't think Cardinals fans knew what to think at first because they were there for the draft. They were there for a pick. And then the Cardinals were like, by the way, we're not picking tonight. But here's Hollywood Brown. Yeah. And so that was fun.
Lamar Jackson, not real thrilled, but he kind of knew that. All right, so Mayfield in 18, Marquise Brown and Kyler Murray in 19, and Kenneth Murray and CeeDee Lamb in 20. Prior to that, it was 5 years which is still not, number one pick. Lane Johnson has had a long career in the NFL as an offensive lineman with the Eagles, 13. 4 in 2010. Bradford McCoy, Trent Williams, and Jermaine Gresham.
Yeah, that was a good draft.
So, the team that won the national title was 2000. They actually did not have a first-round pick. That was a team that was just kind of different. And then they started to get Adrian Peterson, Roy Williams, Tommy Harris, among some others over the next few years.
Yeah, so, they did their fair share and they pulled a lot of their weight. But these last couple of years, not anything since, CD, you said, or Kenneth Murray. So, yeah, it's been a couple of years for them. And maybe at one point in time you would have thought like a Kennedy Brooks, but then again, like with the running backs nowadays, and he was okay, I guess, towards the end. So not surprised that he didn't ultimately end up a first rounder. I just thought maybe a couple years ago at one point, like maybe they could turn him into this, but all hell broke loose with Riley and everything else. So, I don't know who's next in line for them. It probably would have been Caleb Williams, right? And maybe an offensive lineman I'm not thinking of at the moment, but yeah, the droughts for everybody. Need everybody to kind of up their game here.
In 2020, the Big 12 had 5 first-round picks, so it's not like it's been 2 years, but they had 5: CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Reagor, Kenneth Murray, Jordan Brooks, and Jeff Gladney. Gladney from TCU, all came out of the first round. Georgia had 5 last night by themselves. Pretty amazing.
Defense.
Also, 12 of the first 32 picks from the Southeastern Conference, which was not a surprise at all.
No, and I don't know how you close that talent gap either. I mean, they're never going to reach the SEC level or even probably the Big Ten level. Again, you've got less teams, so it's asking everybody to have like an extra guy than they would normally have. When everybody's got 0, you're asking them for 1. That's a lot to ask. So I don't really know how. I think maybe with guys like Dave Aranda, you'll start to see him once he's got more of the roots growing. We'll see a player emerge that could turn into a first round type of guy, probably on the defensive side. Like an Apu Ika maybe if he can maximize his potential. But yeah, like there's a talent gap, and there's no other way to explain it. And I don't know if that's something that becomes more worrisome with NIL, or if that's something that maybe NIL can help you with. But, like West Virginia, they've been kind of shut out. Everybody's been shut out for 2 years. But JT Daniels, maybe that will give them a first-round pick next year if he can have a really solid season. So there's one for the Big 12 potentially, depending on what the quarterback group looks like and the type of year that he has. But that should, give him a chance at least. Like I said, Iowa State with Will McDonald. I'm not sure exactly how he's viewed, but he's a name that comes to mind. And yeah, I'm kind of blanking elsewhere. There's just a lot of good players, not a lot of great NFL-style players, and that's part of the problem. That's part of also why they're not winning playoff games and national championships.
You're just not thinking about.
No, well, I'm not thinking about offensive linemen off the top of my head. I'll be honest about it. I'm just thinking of just names in general. But yeah, I'm sure there's like an Oklahoma State offensive lineman that I'm not thinking of that could be a first rounder or something. But I do think this goes to show you, why are they not winning playoff games? Why are they not even getting to the playoffs in some cases? There is that talent gap. And who are the teams that got all those picks last night? Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. Clemson was noticeably absent, which was kind of strange. But, normally they would be right there in the thick of things.
I'm looking at West Virginia. Their last first-round pick was Carl Joseph, defensive back by the Raiders in 2016. The year before, they had Kevin White, wide receiver. Tavon Austin in 2013. They had 2012 Bruce Irvin, who went to Seattle. So they had a run 3 or 4 years back when the early shootouts with those games with Baylor and even before then as well. All right, when we come back, if you're a Baylor fan or even a Brigham Young fan, there is a ticket package. Baylor hosting Brigham Young hosting Baylor next year in Provo in September. Sikkim 365 is putting together a travel package. There are other expenses, including, the airline ticket and the game ticket that you have to deal with. But there are going to be some parties over a couple of different nights, some gatherings and get-togethers and all that. We'll put that up for you if you're interested. It's also in the Sikkim365.com premium section. This is from a text, the area code 213 in L.A., Not one Big 12 player taken in the first round. Yep, SEC and Georgia has 5, says all you need to know about the conference in balance. And then also, can anyone explain the reasoning why Baylor women's softball and baseball have fallen into the abyss the last couple of years, or does anyone at Baylor really care? We asked Mac about baseball. I have gone back and forth with the 213 and tried to explain a couple of the situations with either baseball or softball. It's on the radar. There's no question. And then he got into what has Mac Rhodes ever done other than Dave Aranda? And that's too early to be seen. And I did get back and forth with him because, it's on the text line.
I think they really care. I just think that, what are you going to do in the middle of the season?
Nothing.
Like, what is that going to accomplish?
You're not going to fire Glenn Moore, who's been with this team. And I'm not saying you should anyway.
No, you're absolutely right about the conference imbalance, and that's what we've been talking about now for like 15 minutes, and that is worrisome for the Big 12. The money imbalance is worrisome, but the talent level is a little bit worrisome as well, and they need some of these new coaches to really, or newer coaches to really kind of get the flames going again somehow or another. And maybe NIL plays into that. You get the leftovers that would have been draft picks at Georgia and Alabama, kind of like Texas has picked up, 4 Bama guys in the last year or so. Maybe that's how they start getting back in the first round. I don't know. But, yeah, as far as, everybody knows about – you say Baylor baseball around here and you get a cringe look from anybody who's paying attention. So everybody's well aware, but I just don't think there's anything you're going to do in the middle of their seasons right now. This isn't, the NBA where LeBron wants his coach gone, or, a team's flailing after a big free agency and not going to make the playoffs, and you fire the guy and just get him out of there and, 3/4 of the way through. They're gonna let these coaches finish this out.
And I think it's out of respect to them as well, and that says quite a bit. We'll see what happens. Baylor baseball, by the way, hosting Texas Tech. That won't be easy. Markel Hall, who's the one that brought up UT earlier about something about the Sears Cup or Director's Trophy last year about all sports. So, Markel, I know you're a UT fan. Texas will have a first-rounder on offense in a year or two. We just mentioned Bijan Robinson, the running back.
And then Xavier Worthy, I think would be a great candidate. And then, I wonder about Jaleel Billingsley. What kind of a year at tight end is.
What? I'm glad you brought him up, because in that game that they came back to beat Auburn on that 97-yard drive, he caught a critical pass on the sideline from Bryce Young that was just kind of made it look so effortless.
Yeah, Sark knows offensive talent, and he knows Bama obviously as well, and that's why he's brought a bunch of those guys on board. But, if Jaleel Billingsley can shake out and become like the next big tight end, he could be another one that you lump into that. But I would certainly think, like right now, if I had to bet, I would think Bijan is a first-rounder next year, and I would think that Worthy's a maybe early entry first rounder the following year, or he could play all 4 years and be a first rounder in 2-3 years. But no, they've got some candidates. It's just, there's just across the league, it's few and far between.
We'll come back and give you that Baylor, Brigham Young, that travel package, and a couple of the notes to wrap it up. Paul Beck on Monday. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, and thanks, Malik, for that text. They are the people that you can count on, and they've been in business for over 23 years now over at Richard Carr. I recently had a couple of dings to my ride. In one case, a road rage guy got mad and wanted to get in the lane and dinged me, and was not my fault. And then another case had some debris fly up and create a crack on one of my panels, which was also not my fault. But both times, no matter if it would have been or not, I knew going in that my car was going to be fixed, and I was going to get great customer service with the people that you can count on over at Richard Carr, and that's exactly what I got and exactly what I will get when I get that second piece fixed here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But if you are in the market for a vehicle, they've got new cars and trucks arriving weekly over at Richard Carr. Obviously, there's been supply chain challenges with the lack of microchips and all of that that's created a little bit of chaos in the car market. But if you are looking to get into a new vehicle right now, get on the inbound vehicle list over at Richard Carr, and you can get into a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they arrive at the dealership over the next few days and weeks. But to ensure that you are the first that you can be in that new ride of your choice, again, contact them over the phone or at the dealership and get on that inbound vehicle list. But if you are looking to get a new car, or not a new car, but if you're looking to get into a car today, doesn't matter that it's new, you want something used, you need a ride, well, they have a plethora of premium pre-owned cars and trucks as well. All of them have undergone a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, and Richard Carr has dozens of ways, and their lenders will do everything that they can possible to ensure that you get into a good, reliable used car or truck or SUV. They are the people you can count on. Again, I already gave you my example. They've helped me out before and will help me out again here very soon with my vehicle. Great customer service, and they've been in business for 23 years here in the Central Texas area. So if you're around, you're in need of a new car, truck, or vehicle, contact the dealership, get on that inbound vehicle list, or ask them about their offerings of pre-owned cars and trucks as well. Trust the good local people you can count on. Again, 23 years here in Central Texas. Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Armstrong, let's put up the graphic of the Baylor football trip to Brigham Young. Now, I want you to look at all of what's there This is for that game in September. It's a 2-night trip. A Saturday tailgate involved. Package does not include, which are 2 expenses, the game tickets and travel to Utah to fly into wherever you're going to fly into. Standard package, there's one person, $999. That's $999, and it's less per person if you have a 2, 3, or 4-person package. Friday night, there'll be a welcome event, chalk talk with former players, open bar and food provided at the hotel. Saturday tailgate event, an exclusive Baylor fan tailgate open bar transportation between Salt Lake City and Provo on the day of the game to and from. And so this is being put together by somebody that's doing this with other Big 12 programs and schools or fan bases. Brian Etheridge, one of our partners, Sikkim365.com, is the one that put this one together as well. So that's on it's in the premium section, but we also wanted to put it up in the graphic for you as well.
Yeah, I liked that that tweet I saw randomly. I guess Baylor had given BYU a sign in their broadcast booth or their visiting booth, when they came and played in Waco a few months back that had the BYU logo and the Big 12 together. And then I guess they took that and they installed it this week in their facility, but I forget who said it, but somebody had the comment of like, so you take Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos and Caleb Lohner, the basketball player, and give us a stupid sign in return. It was much better delivery than I just gave because I'm trying to remember what exactly it said, but it was funny as a nice gesture.
Take that down, Armstrong.
It was funny as a nice little, moment from whoever that BYU guy was. My apologies for not remembering.
On my timeline, a lot of Brigham Young fans responded to the fact that there was going to be a package and also just about Brigham Young and the conference. And I'd say 99.9% had great experience when they came into Waco last year, despite the score in the game, with Baylor winning, a team that was on their way to winning 12 games in the Sugar Bowl. So we got to wrap it up.
Tonight, be interesting to see. Jalen Petrie should be on an NFL team by the end of the night. Tyquan Thornton, I would say there's a pretty strong chance that he could be. And who was the third guy that I mentioned that could very well go tonight? JT Woods, maybe. Maybe there's been a run on safeties. There was at the end of the first round last night. He's a top 5 to 10 safety, so I think that only helps him with those guys going off the board and maybe propels him a little further. Those would be the 3 that I would have the strongest chances about. There's also the flyer on a Kalen Barnes. Now, I don't know if that would happen as early as like round 3, but his 40 time definitely, I think, boosted him a little bit. But Terrell Bernard, Kalen Barnes, Xavier Newman-Johnson, everybody left over who don't get picked tonight. You're looking at a day 3 or undrafted free agent, but we'll have all of that on Sikkim 365.
From Steven, who sent me this pods, Big 12 pods, if they ever go to that, his suggestions would be UCF, USF, Cincinnati, and West Virginia in 1, Baylor, Tech, TCU, and Houston in another, Oklahoma State, K-State, Iowa State, Kansas in another, and then Brigham Young, Arizona State, and Utah.
So we're adding 4 new schools.
Which, of course, that means that's if you add those new schools. Thanks for that. Appreciate it, Stephen. Tony, thank you very much as well. Also, Armstrong Sims, Faith Lynch, and Emery Winter. Jack McKenzie was in for a little bit as well. Paul back with us Monday. For Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. We announce the 2022 high school academic all-stars team on Monday. We'll announce that and have fun with that, honoring some great student athletes. Good night. Sikkim 365 Radio. Have a great weekend.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.